participate in the fear that you thought you'd abandon, questioning ourselves. But the journey we take wasn't meant to be easy. Catch your breath and pour your life. No life to fall. Find your new way, just in time. No life to fall.
Hello and welcome into the Boise State Game Pants Esports Arena. Today, the Boise State League of Legends team gets to make their 2021 debut in a pair of matches, starting off with a conference showdown in LoL, taking on the University of Wyoming. I am Michael Fisher, going to be calling all of the action alongside Lisa Jolly Malhaus. And for Boise State League of Legends, Jolly, it's not new year, new me, because for the first time since I have been casting with Boise State, the League of Legends team had 0 turnover from the last semester. So this is a team that finally has been playing with each other for more than just a few weeks when the semester starts.
I cannot hear you, Fish, and I'm hoping that you can hear me, but I unfortunately missed your whole intro. I'm sure it was spectacular.
I can hear you.
That figured out.
I can hear Jolly.
It helps to cast when we can hear each other.
Yeah, that would be helpful. So hopefully we can figure out the technological issues, and then we can get going. As we see here for LoL, it is 376 universities, 11 Mountain West teams. The only team not entering is UNLV. It'll be a 10-game round robin where Boise State will play the other 10 Mountain West teams. The top 4 advance. The Mountain West Conference winner goes to the playoffs, and those playoffs are in early March. We saw something similar to this in the fall, where Boise State was the champion, defeating Nevada, and then going on to the round of 32 before being taken out. So familiar format for Boise State eSport for League of Legends. Definitely going to be interesting to see if that team can have a similar result as what they had last time, as they're going to be taking on Wyoming today in a best of 3. A lot has changed since the last time this team played. We've got new items, we've got new champions. Of course, the Rune King not yet passing that 2-week intro period, so he will not be eligible for play, but Rel will. So I'll be curious to see how these new items impact the Boise State League of Legends team. As we mentioned, it has not changed. Red Hots, Ethug, Ascent, Goblin, and Dean in that order. Didn't even get a name change from anybody this year, which always makes it nice and easy for the casters. Hopefully we can fix on the issues. There is Ascent chilling out in the arena all by his lonesome, though, making sure we're still following all of the protocols, even though it's still a new year. Everything's still the same from fall semester for that. So he's going to be all by his lonesome up on stage, and hopefully he won't be too alone, and he'll have the rest of the team to support him in the mid lane, as we've seen Ascent very, very capable on champions, especially like Rumble, like Azir from last semester, and of course Cassiopeia. Some of those still around. Some of those with the new item changes not as impactful. So really curious to see how the play styles change, as the players have not. Just trying to work out a couple of things, and then we will be ready to go. As I mentioned, first series of the night, Boise State versus the University of Wyoming. After that, they'll be changing into the Upsurge League, where the Broncos will be taking on an amateur team. So a little bit more of a challenge for the Boise State Broncos later tonight. But of course, you never want to underestimate a team in conference, because that is where upsets can happen. So I'm sure the Broncos right now focused on taking down Wyoming, a team they have seen several times in a whole different range of sports, especially in League of Legends. So cannot wait to see how this first match of CLOL goes, as we mentioned. Basically, similar to a Mountain West Conference schedule in any other sport. Every team in the Mountain West entering except UNLV. Boise State will play all of those teams once and then round robin into the playoffs, where the top 4 teams in the Mountain West will advance. And we expect Boise State to be in that top group because for the last few years, it has always been the Broncos in the Mountain West Conference Championship game. As we get into the draft, not quite sure if we have Jolly able to hear me or not, but we will have to. We're going to that. All right. Looks like we have Glovely. Glovely, are you here? I don't know if we have him as well, so we'll just go with the draft solo for now as Boise State's first band going to be that Volley Bear. Of course, a lot has changed. A very peculiar champion in the top lane since his rework. Saw a ton of play. Now with the new items, have to get curious to see why Boise State wanted to ban that away. There is that Graves ban. New season, still the same old Graves. Kaisa, definitely one of the AD carries, especially with Gale Force, who has been making a name for herself on the professional scene, especially in the LCS. That item actually recently taking a nerf in the patch just a few days ago. There is the Rumble. Anytime Boise State plays, Ascent is not going to get to be on that champion unless you're one of the few teams last semester that made that mistake, and you realize very quickly why you do not let that man play on his main. As we are still waiting, there's the final ban. Mordekaiser going to be taken away there by Boise State. Always a powerful champion, the ability to create any kind of one-on-one, especially against a champion that he can easily take down, can turn a team fight that looked like to be in your advantage or a gank even the other direction. And then there's that Kindred taken away from Ethug, who is very, very capable on a number of champions. The Lilia still available for him, which is a champion that is very, very strong even from the last season, but it's going to be the safe pick for Boise State. They're going to pick up the Ashe, always an AD carry without much flair, but that crystalline arrow allowing you to open up team fights with a stun, especially across map, has been very, very huge for several seasons. And once again, we'll see Goblin on that AD carry, seeing how Wyoming plans to respond. Looks like it is going to be the Gragas AP junglers, definitely on the rise here in this new season. Have to think that Gragas is definitely going to be a lot of the old Gragas, a lot of disposition, a lot of the ability to single someone out with the ultimate or just push a team away if you're trying to secure that dragon or that baron. One final pick here for Wyoming. Curious to see what they're going to blind pick in, or if they just want to pick an AD carry, and they're going to pick the support instead. It is going to be that Alistar, definitely a very safe lane, can also be very aggro, so I'll be curious to see what AD carry Wyoming wants to pair with it. There is the Rek'Sai, so a little bit of a different champion there for Ethug. I've not seen him play that on the stream. Would have thought with the Lilia as how strong as she is right now, they would be good to go. I'm being told we might have one of our co-casters, either Jolly or Glovely, alongside us right now.
That you do.
Oh, there
Hello,
we
Fish.
go, Glovely. How are you this season,
And
Glovely?
that you do.
Oh, we got
Doing
both
pretty
of them.
good.
It's a party now, so why don't you guys take over for a little bit as we're just finishing up this round 1 ban phase.
Well, Rek'Sai, of course, is going to be that lock-in there, followed by the Ahri, great mid-lane assassin, very powerful roams, able to single target, lock down people with the charm, and blast them away. So that's definitely a champion. You want to pay attention to where she is on the map, because she's going to be making plays wherever she happens to be.
And I do like the Rek'Sai, very aggressive pick. You can tell that's exactly what Boise State wants to go into this with. Doesn't matter how aggressive the side for Wyoming is, they're going to continue to do this throughout. So I would not be surprised if we continue to see just high-tier champions. I'm mostly surprised we haven't seen the Kaisa, to be honest.
There is the pick here that I'm very excited about. The Annie on the other side there. Not a champion that we get to see very often. It is one Dr. Haskell personally likes to at least talk about how he plays. Ban phase is now going through. Silas and Ivern being taken off the board. Both great junglers. One of them with a lot of potential to play mid lane. Ivern has been a little strong as of late. Did get nerfed previously, but is still very viable, very strong jungle champ with his ability to invade, take buffs very quickly and safely, bring utility to his team. Tristana going to be banned away. Also very powerful thanks to that Kraken Slayer, which she has been very effective in stacking up, getting a lot of damage very, very quickly, very safely. Jarvan going to be the final ban.
Not sure if that is that flex pick that they've got there for the Tristana. I am very excited to see what Boise State pulls out in terms of supports, who are incredibly strong right now. High aggro supports, things like the Leona, the Thresh, things that we know Dean really enjoys to play, usually at the top of his favorites list. The Lucian is going to be the lock in there for Wyoming. That is not necessarily going to be a good thing with the amount of aggression that Boise State has going in. Maybe that's the idea behind it. They know that they're going to be jumped on. They know there's going to be a lot of instant retaliation they have to provide and escapability, and Lucian will offer that.
Definitely a very safe pick in that bot lane. Able to follow up very quickly on the initiation that they have from their other members, as Galio is going to be locked in for the side of Boise State. Broncos really like that champion. We've seen it played top, we've seen it played mid, we've seen it played in devastating ways. I'm excited to see how they used it in the new preseason.
And final picks are up on the board now. Everyone's kind of taking their time. They Trundle, so incredibly aggressive team here, and honestly, this can work out quite well. That Trundle in the top lane is what we can assume is going on here. Galio, I can really either go in the mid or the bottom lane, because you can have that Ahri in the support role, depending. However, I do think that just based on the history that we have with Ascent here, that he may stick with that Galio.
And it is going to be the Darius as the final lock-in. That's a champion I'm personally quite familiar with, having faced it many times in lane. Very strong right now, in my opinion. Stridebreaker and Goredrinker are both really good items for him. Able to sustain himself in those long fights, which gives him the ability to put up those stacks he needs to really start slamming down the ultimate and picking up the Pentas.
And that's what Boise State is planning on going in for. That's what this team is based around. I love it. There's so much crowd control. There's so much very, very quick engage. You've got the semi-global ultimate with that Galio. So there's going to be a lot of shot calling, excuse me, coming from, as usual, Ethug and Ascent in that area. And that's where we can expect a good portion of those full 5v5, those pentakill fights occurring. Boise State's going to rush towards that team fight stage for sure.
Yeah, nothing changed for Boise State. The team comp, very, very interesting. Rarely ever do you see a Rek'Sai and a Trundle on the same team. I think I agree, though, with Jolly. I think it's going to be that Galio and that support role. We see Dean do that several of times. And it was something I was talking about in the open, and we'll start with you, Jolly, and then Glovely. For Boise State, first semester since I've been casting here, we haven't seen a team change. This is the first time the team has been the same from the last semester. So what do you think that says for just how well this team is going to gel together? Because remember, at the start of the fall, it was kind of rough for a little bit. Now everyone knows their role pretty well.
I think it's an incredibly good sign. And not only is it your first jump back into the season where we get to see the same team, but this is the most teams involved in these tournaments, these competitions, more varsity collegiate teams than we'd ever seen before. So that's extra confidence in saying we still have one of the best teams. We can still go into this with enough confidence, knowing that other people may have changed their rosters, but we don't need to do the research then. We've got a good enough team to deal with it.
Yeah, I think it's really incredible. Glovely, what do you think caught your eye the most in the draft there that we saw for either team, really? Boise State's draft, of course, just all over the place. Wyoming's a bit more standard, but is there anything that caught your eye from either side?
One thing I'm particularly interested in Annie and Darius. Both of them are champions that are kind of what you would expect to be sort of your solo queue champions, the kind of champions you'd pick for people who are not familiar with the game. But I've also seen people be absolutely devastating with the kind of mastery you can get on these champions, because you know what they say, I fear not the man who has mastered 100 champions, but one champion 100 times over. So definitely a very interesting pickup there. Does have the ability to follow up on a lot of the engage that they provide through the rest of their team, the Gragas and the Alistar, and even the Darius.
Yeah, Darius, I know you did mention his strength did actually get hit by the recent wave of nerfs that these players are playing on, unlike the pro scene, no special realm for us. So these are going to be the nerfs. And so, Glovely, since you're going to be leaving us as we head into the game, I'll throw you with one more. How do you think the first 10 minutes of this game play out, and who do you think wins game number one?
I think Boise State has a very strong early game. I'd look for them to be the ones setting the pace.
There you go. Thank you, Glovely. We'll have you back for game number 2 between these two teams. Of course, with Doc's keys to the game in League of Legends, understand your comp, understand your win condition, respect their spikes, and play your game. And for Boise State, I think, Johnny, the bigger question is not do they understand their comp, but does everyone else watching understand who's going where? Because Boise State does a really good job of making people a little bit question, like, how do you pick Trundle when there's already a Rek'Sai? So I like how Boise State kind of confuses even the casters with their comp a little bit.
Oh, they always do. That's nothing new for us, actually. These players love to flex, and not just flex on the enemy team, but run flex champions. That's a big, big part of this group of 5 players' desire going into these things, of picking a champion that you can assume, we can assume, because we've seen them enough, can assume that, hey, this player is going here, this champion's going here. Sometimes they'll even switch up lanes on us, so you never really know, especially when the Broncos go in with a lot of confidence. And this is a game that they are experiencing that with. They have a feeling that it's going to be a relatively easy one. Even the people in chat have kind of come to that consensus of, if Boise State decides that they want to tear through this one quickly, they should be able to. But the potential for a knockdown, drag them out with Wyoming is still absolutely there.
Oh, 100%. I was even going to mention that, just looking at the two teams, when Boise State, especially someone like Ethug, who we've talked about, when he joined, Boise State was known for his aggressive play. He showed that last semester. When he smells blood in the water and he thinks that he has a jungle advantage, he is going to push it as hard as he can. So I would watch for that Rek'Sai, if it is him on the Rek'Sai, to be all over the place, tunneling in on the Wyoming jungler, making that Gragas really work for every camp. And we have seen sometimes that does cost Boise State, where they, maybe throw a fight that they shouldn't. So, but I'm going to be curious how aggressive Ethug is. But when he smells blood in the water, I expect that Rek'Sai to own to 75% of the jungle, at least in this matchup.
Oh, yeah, that's a confident pick. It's a mobile pick, though, from Ethug. And while it takes a little bit of time for Rek'Sai to get moving in terms of gaining items and getting her solid clears, she has the opportunity to make some quick and easy ganks because of her mobility. And I feel like Boise State might be looking for that. But I do also really like the Trundle pick. It is aggressive. It helps the rest of the team, but it is still a lot safer than some of the other options that are in the meta right now. It looks like Guppy and Goblin are just kind of going at it. They know they're the only ones down here towards the bottom side. We'll see how long it lasts.
Yeah, Guppy got to be careful. Talking about knowing your comp. Even the casters sometimes are a little confused as it's Dean on the R. He gets the rank 1 charm. He doesn't have a follow-up, but he gets the flash and the electrocute damage onto Guppy. So not often do you expect it to be an Ahri in the bot lane, and unfortunately for Dean, if he probably had Goblin or Ethug there, he wins with the charm. For right now, though, they're going to sit in that bush. Nice scanner going to come out from Devious King. So he's going to know Rek'Sai is there, but I don't really think there's a whole lot he can do about it. Lucian back in the base. Goblin just making sure nobody's close to even smite steal, and that's going to be a free invade for Boise State right away.
They definitely could have had that first blood, but they were actually willing to give it up to secure that jungle camp to ensure that Dean could poke down and the remainder of the team could get into position in case multiple members of Wyoming did decide to move down. And now we can just see how aggressive both of these teams are planning on being. These are both aggressive compositions. That's what we were expecting. But Wyoming is matching Boise State's confidence in their aggression so far. We can see it just right here with this Darius, who was the final pick. So it's going to be tough for Red Hots in this matchup no matter what.
Yeah, I would expect probably Ethug and Devious King to focus on that top lane. So we see a charm is going to land, knock up onto Dean. He will start walking away. Goblin just CSing in the bush, doesn't have volley up yet, so he's not going to be able to throw it out. Orb's going to just miss onto Orso de Sono. There's the volley for the slow. Comet does land onto Guppy. Heal comes out as well as Ignite. Flash, Pulverize, going to miss. Goblin ignited, but it's not going to matter. It's first blood Boise State. Here comes Ethug in for the follow-up, but the knock-up on Guppy misses. Do they have a charm in their back pocket? No, looks like it just missed. Boise State's going to pick up first blood.
Very, very well played. Very clean positioning on that. Well, we can see Dean wait until the last possible moment to flash into the bush, the Ignite going off. Goblin didn't even have to use his flash there, just the heal being burned to help save Dean as well and keep him healthy enough. But that's exactly what I was talking about with Ethug, that coming in over the wall early on. Rek'Sai is not one you generally see making really early ganks, but of all the people to play this champion, Ethug is going to make it happen. He's going to make her into an early game champion.
I feel like Ethug could make any jungler into an early game champion. Even if it was like Jungle Ash, Ethug would be in just ganking in every lane at level 2. That's just how aggressive he wants to be. And that early camp steal ends up being sort of nullified as we see Gragas, Devious King on the bottom side of the screen, did take away Ethug's jungle, so we do have a little bit of left and right side jungling here. Here they come, a follow-up. They're going to land the charm. Can the knockup from Ethug land? No. Guppy incredibly low, so is Goblin forced to flash away. It's 1 kill for Boise State, and it looks like everyone's going to disengage here with the low health bars. And that bot lane for Boise State, help from Ethug picking up their second kill.
Help from Ethug, they keep taking that for granted we still have Rek'Sai tunnels here. We should probably do something about that. But I do think it was a dangerous play. Goblin and Dean were at almost nothing, and that includes mana. Very little health, very little mana. Now we've got a king here.
Nice flash from Devious King. Nothing that Red Hots could do. Even the tower shot's not enough to help him out. So great job by Devious King recognizing, hey, my bot side's being camped, I'll make a play. And the junglers, very influential here in the first 5 minutes of the game.
It's good to see the Devious King is acting close to as aggressively as Ethug is. There's very few players that can even come close to the level of aggression that he presents from the very first moment. But Boise State, even though it was only 2 and 1 in kills, they do have now 0.6k gold lead, so it has lessened actually just since I started that sentence. Wyoming is going to quickly pick up on this top lane, and that's going to change things for Boise State, but they want to get to the team fight stage fast anyway. It's not that big of a deal if Red Hots falls behind a little bit, and if Devious King focuses most of his time up there, it's even better for the rest of the Broncos.
Yeah, that should make Dragon relatively easy. I mean, Red Hots, you know, on Trundle, very simple job. You wait till the team fight starts, you ult the tank, probably going to be the Alistar, and then magically you're incredibly tanky, and that poor Alistar is just basically useless. So, I mean, Red Hots, it's a role as top lane. You kind of got to accept unless you're playing Darius. You know what? Your jungler's never going to come up there. You're going to just kind of get bullied, survive till late game, do your job with your ultimate, and you'll be good. So, Red Hots, I'm sure, can pull that role off spectacularly. And for Boise State, I'm curious how many times they can keep coming bot lane. You see Devious King, he's now on that bot side. He probably wants to make a gank or even catch Ethug when he tries and rotates down for another kill.
Especially with Infernal Dragon up, and they're going in.
Yeah, Hex Flash over the wall from Urso to Sono. Nothing Goblin could do. He just gets headbutt pulverized, and a great play there from Wyoming, focusing on that bot side, picking up their first kill onto Goblin, and now potentially they could get the Infernal Drake. You see Ascent has started to rotate down. He is level 6 now, so he was probably trying to get in range from an ult. Everything just happened too quickly, and I think Boise State, probably the reason they put Galio in the mid is it just makes his ult that much more effective. He can go top or bot, whereas if he's a support, limited mobility for him.
Yeah, not quite full global, partial global. That's what I call that. But that does even things out in terms of kills, completely evens it out in terms of gold. And I do think there was a bit of a missed opportunity there from Wyoming. I do think they could have rotated up. They had 3 members. They weren't insanely low in health. And it actually kind of gave Boise State the opportunity because 2 members were in Wyoming's jungle at that time. Neither really took advantage of the fact that nobody was towards that bottom side. Therefore, we've still got an Infernal Drake up. But you know what? It might just be because they want another big fight in that area. They want to really secure that dragon and ensure that whoever starts it is going to be the team that finishes it.
Oh, full CC chain right onto that Annie. The knock up into the taunt, into the charm. Ignite lands in the tornado from downtown. Sen's going to pick up a kill. Got to be careful. Enraged Tibbers beating him down very, very low, but I think they finally survived. And a great job combining the just CC from Ascent and Dean. And unfortunately, Dr. Blorbley really couldn't play his character for a majority of that fight.
Flash and Cleanse expended on that one too. Ascent just barely getting that final hit. And that's what Ascent is known best for, is just being able to jump in, snag that last chunk of damage that is always far more obscenely large than it should be, to be honest. And now we're getting to the point in the game. This is all it takes for Boise State to feel like they might be able to start making some rotations. But there it is. The Ahri moving up towards the top side. Rek'Sai on the way as well.
Yeah, see Devious King right behind him using that Predator. Can't Darius get out alive? The answer is going to be resounding no, but they are going to trade off for Red Hots as well. The healing from the Q. They're going to land the charm onto Devious King. He gets knocked up in the air as well. Not level 6, no ultimate, and that is a double kill for Ethug. Boise State trades that 1 for 2.
That feels all right. That means the gold lead is just a tad bit in Boise State's favor. So the Broncos have figured out the aggression. They figured out that they can really just kind of approach any lane there. They do need to keep an eye on that top side. You don't have a scary Darius yet, but it doesn't take much to get an even Darius into one that is absolutely terrifying, especially when he's had as much pressure on this lane as he had the entire game. 35 to 62 ECS right there is just the best example of the control that has been obtained there by Darius.
Another great CC on to Dr. Blorbley. Is he going to be able to get away this time? The answer is no. Dean picks it up, using the Spirit Rush to get in position. And once again, the taunt, the knockup, and the charm. And this is when Boise State is at their best. When Dean is able to rotate, they trust Goblin in the 1v2 on the bot side to hold it down. And that just opens up so much kill potential across the map with that Ahri. The unsuspecting CC from the support with that charm is going to make Annie especially very, very hard for her to get away with really nothing when Flash is down.
Wyoming has found quite a bit of pressure here down towards the bottom side, has for the last little bit, thanks to the rotation up from Ahri. So that did actually hinder this bottom side of it. Only one plate has been taken, so not an insane amount. Goblin doing a great job of holding his own, and just in time for Dean to come in.
Yeah, there was the calling. Nice flash away from the arrow. Guppy's going to take the tower shot, though, and that should be the difference maker. But he gets a last-second heal from the Alistar, and everyone's going to come out all right. Meanwhile, up in the top lane, knockup is going to land onto Rosero. Has max stacks, but the ult is going to make Ethug untargetable. Boise State will lose Dean on the bot side of the map as Devious King came in, used the ult, and Dean's going to go down. So it's a 1-for-1. Goblin barely escapes with 10 HP, and this should be a free dragon for Wyoming if they can do it quick enough.
Scary fight down bottom. What a flash by Guppy there, though, just to barely escape the crystalline arrow sent through by Ash, who had just flashed to respond to the W there from the Lucian. So very quick reaction times. Both of these teams acknowledging, they recognize exactly what's going to happen next. You know that those ultimates are in these players' pockets, and we know that this heavy CC is a really, really big part of the composition and the kits on this team. So Wyoming is doing a really good job of either getting that CC out and staying safe about it, or forcing themselves in and then just watching for that CC to come through so that they could avoid it.
Yeah, I think both junglers have played really well in capitalizing when the other jungler is ganking a lane on the other side of the map and making use to be able to get their own gank. Devious King 1-1 and 3, Ethug 4-0. So same kill participation for both of them. Of course, that Rek'Sai going to be so much more scarier in any kind of 1v1, and Boise State's going to use that to their advantage. They're going to pick up Shelly here, and there's probably not much of a contest that can come out from the University of Wyoming.
Yeah, looks like they are not into some minute recall from the game, so they are not even going to try anything. Zero there up top also pulled through the recall, so we're likely going to see a regroup here from Wyoming. Teleport there being pinged. Trundle does have that, or did just utilize that to get back up to top lane. But it was a quick and easy pickup there for Boise State on Shelly. I'm not really sure what Wyoming was planning, because that was just a pure loss. There was no gain to be very safe about that. They didn't put pressure in a different lane. They didn't really do anything to recover from the fact that two of those members just took Shelly with no problem.
Yeah, I was kind of curious with the lack of the Wyoming response why Red Hot used that teleport. Could have saved it for a team fight, because now Darius is going to have that teleport advantage. Speaking of that, up in the top lane, Red Hot's now cut out in the 2v1. He's going to ult Devious King, get hooked right back in. Ethug's here to try and save the day, as well as the hero called Galio. Bam! Down goes to Darius. Can Devious King get away? Yes, he can. Bragg is doing some of that gym workouts everyone does for New Year's and barely escapes the taunt. Can he get away? Jumps back in to get the knockup. I don't know if that was recommended. There's the flash knockup from Ascent, and unfortunately, Gragas overstayed his welcome, and Boise State goes 2-0 in the top lane.
I swear, every time Ascent runs this Galio, he does more than any other Galio I've ever seen in terms of damage. Do we see that hero's entrance slam down? The chunk of damage that just disappeared from that top laner, and then being able to flash in and follow up onto Devious King. Devious King felt pretty comfortable. There was actually a couple of times going back in just to hit the two of them because he was not taking a ton of damage, but Ascent's like, well, whatever, are you kidding me? I can take this guy down, no problem. So following up very, very hard. Boise State is very confident and comfortable playing aggressively at this point.
Crystalline Arrow used on Ursa de Sono in the bot lane. Rosero has used that teleport, and he is now down right on top of Dean. There's no escape for the Ahri or for Goblin, as that is going to be a 2-0 in the bot lane. Great job by Rosero, recognizing he could teleport in and make up for what just went on the top side of the map. So Wyoming immediately gets 2 back. Dr. Blorbley wants to land the stun onto Ascent, but he's going to dash away. And Boise State remains in the lead, the 3K gold lead.
I do have to compliment this bottom lane very much from Wyoming. In particular, Guppy has been playing spectacularly, and the communication between the jungle and this bottom lane has improved a lot. No real wasted time on ganking down on that side. Wyoming recognizes, hey, we either have a rotation up, maybe from Dean, that Ari's not in lane, or we just have a little bit of movement, so we have an opportunity to go in, and they are taking advantage of that. Now it is working well for them. They're likely going to attempt to focus that, but that makes things really tough for Goblin moving forward.
And we see that Red Hot's going to get caught out on that red buff, but here comes the rest of the cavalry. There's the taunt onto the Alistar. He's not going to be able to get to that blast cone, and Boise State will pick up one. Ethug wants another one. Flash away here from Dr. Blorbley. Going to land the Tiber's stun. Ethug not scared, though. Flashes in, gets the knock up onto one. Uses the ult to become untargetable. Boise State picks up two. Rosero barely flashes over the wall, and Boise State in the Wyoming jungle picks up 2 kills and doesn't lose anybody.
Except to that crystalline arrow from the other side of the map. Beautiful. That is something that we've come to expect from Ash, or Goblin's Ash there. Definitely helped out. We saw it was on a Devious King, that final selection there, and now Boise State just kind of gets to run rampant into what they please. That gold differential finally beginning to really increase in their favor. It was kind of wavering back and forth, being quite even, barely adjusting towards Boise State, then immediately coming back down. This, though, is the point where Boise State is going to be able to put their foot down. We're about 15 minutes here into this game. They're looking at a 5K gold lead. They have double the amount of kills, and now it feels like they are starting to really be in control of this match.
Yeah, this would, I would expect a dragon as soon as it's up. Dean down there already trying to land a charm onto somebody. Devious King's going to come down as well. Wyoming's got to make sure they don't separate. Crystalline Arrow just barely misses. Fulbright's headbutt going to try and come out here from Desoro. He's going to be forced to flash away. Still gets taunted up. Probably caught out of position. That is one down for Wyoming. They're going to keep up the fight, though. Rosero's going to hook in Dean. Hero's Call's going to come out, but it's not in time, and Boise State will lose Dean in the process. Red Hot's now rotating up. Ascent's got another taunt. Going to land onto 3 members. Etha going to dash in as well. Boise State, though, gets a shutdown, but here they come. Boise State picks up 2. Guppy and Rosero on the wrong side of the wall, incredibly low. It's a triple kill for the Darius. It's an ace for Boise State, and that should be a dragon for the 2 remaining members.
Once again, Ascent just blows our minds there. I thought that was lost for the Broncos. I thought Wyoming had that no problem. Ascent said, no, I'm committing. I have a second taunt. I'm going to nail everybody with that. And that gave the rest of the Broncos the opportunity to continue the fight. And hey, you know what, too? The 3 for 5, absolutely worth taking. And there goes the Mountain Dragon in their favor. Goblin is in a scary position now, though. We'll see what he does about this.
See if he can get away from Ursa DeSono. Gets stunned up. The Ignite's going to come out. Forced to use the arrow to create some distance. Ignite barely going to leave him alive. And just like that, Goblin gets out. Dean's going to flash in with the Spirit Rush. And unfortunately, Ursa DeSono is now caught out. He levels up at the perfect time, though, to just barely escape. So all of Boise State and Wyoming get away with a sliver. Predator's going to come out. Charm used to slow down the movement speed. Dean trying to dodge best he can. Oh! Man, he has a family, and Dean just embarrasses him with the dodge. Meanwhile, Dr. Borbley going to try and run away from Ethug. You're not going to get away from Rek'Sai, and Boise State somehow avoids a kill in the bot side and then picks one up in mid lane.
What is even going on here? That absurd. And then you got that was 1 health. That has to. There was no more than 1 health. Single digit guarantee. And then turning that around onto the Alistar, who gets away with a sliver of health at that point, finding 2 kills through it. Boise State feeling very confident. Now, these situations where normally I'm like, oh, I'm kind of concerned, this looks a little bit concerning for the Broncos here. The level advantages and now the gold advantages, therefore item advantages, with items being so incredibly powerful in the current meta this new season. They're okay with making these scary plays because they have the rest of the team somewhere in the wings.
Yeah, and I mean, we talked about Ethug smelling blood in the water. 8-1-6 versus the 1-4-5 of Devious King. Of course, in classic Ethug fashion, there's only one way to build a jungler, and that is as much damage as you can literally pump out. Infinity Edge, second item on Rek'Sai. He just wants to go in one shot, probably either Guppy or Dr. Blorbley, and no one's going to be safe from this Rek'Sai. And as you mentioned, the gold lead with how important items are, you just feel that much further behind when you see a Rek'Sai with 2 items already, and one of them being an Infinity Edge.
And I will say in the chat, people were saying Boise State, they're either going to push real hard, they're going to try to force it out in 20 minutes, or it's going to be a crazy knockdown, drag them out, and you're going to be looking at a standard 25 to 30-minute game. And it looks like wasn't really up to Boise State this time, to be honest. Wyoming did such a good job of keeping the pressure and response down to that bottom side. They found where that focus was. They got a little bit of pressure on the top side against Red Hots, really not focusing the mid lane at all, or very little for Devious King. So it really actually helped them, and it has certainly become a knockdown, drag them out.
You see the Coling on the bot side there. It's going to miss with the Crystalline Arrow. Meanwhile, Ascent goes up top. He picks up the kill, or going down bot. He picks one up on the Lucian. It was Devious King who got a kill on the top side. So Boise State will trade 1 for 2, and I'm sure Red Hot's totally okay with that. Going to open up the rest of the map for his team.
And some pressure on the bot side. That's absolutely just getting a little bit more of an opening. This is the first opportunity that the Broncos have had. They have been poking away at this first bottom tower for now 19 and a half minutes about, and it's not even going to end up going down here. They're going to transition over to this jungle fight.
Ethug caught out, easily able to dash around, barely dodges the Darius hook. We also see Darius, the spam coming in. He used the teleport to try and salvage that bot lane, but unfortunately for him, he's not going to have very much fun trying to chase down Goblin, who has gone full utility kite build on that Ashe. And when you have a Rek'Sai who's doing this much damage, you know, all you got to do is land a Crystalline Arrow as often as possible, and you're probably going to pick up a team fight win, and that's exactly what Goblin has done. Nice flash there by Rosero. Crystalline Arrow comes out. Here comes Ethug right over the wall, right on time. Gets the knockup. Charm just barely misses, and there is the damage from that Rek'Sai. 3-shotting Darius. Gonna flash over the ult from Devious King. The tower, though, still there. Is gonna be the only thing stopping Ethug from trying to pick up his 10th kill of the game.
Alistar might be looking for an in here. You always gotta recognize when that Rek'Sai is gone. You don't want to go in too deep.
Red Hot's going to teleport in into 3 members. Ult's the Alistar going to be tanky enough to get away. Ascent's going to try and Proto Belt on top of Dr. Blorbly. Unfortunately, cannot get in range for the taunt. Boise State going to retreat for now. Setting up around that dragon, spawning here in less than a minute. Going to pick up the Rift Herald. Nice traffic cone to slow things down, but with Ascent moving back to mid lane, there's no pinch here for Boise State. So they kind of lost that element of surprise. Now Ascent's rotating back in. Does not quite have the ultimate online. It'll be up in the middle of this fight, so Boise State still has to be careful. Rosero has rejoined. And it looks like everything's kind of going to stalemate out here right around that dragon pit.
It looked like Blorbly had the opportunity to pinch off Red Hot. They could have gotten the kill there. They're going to get engaged now.
They're going to get the first pick onto Ethug. Hero's Call not in time. Boise State will pick up 1, but Goblin's still in the back being untouched. Devious King gets away with a little bit of HP. The Stomp Watch not enough to save him. Dean and Goblin now forced to retreat. Tibbers in the way. Dr. Blorbly forced to cleanse that charm and just barely get away. Rosero incredibly low as well. The health bars for Wyoming not in a good place, but a flash over wall by Guppy, the only healthy member. He's going to pick up Goblin. Dean's got to be careful that it's not a 5-for-1. And he's just going to back off and give Wyoming the Dragon. What a well-played team fight. You mentioned Dr. Blorbly almost had a chance when he used the second one, and he really won that fight for Wyoming.
It was worth it to hold on. I take it back. Because getting the Trundle down alone would have absolutely sent Boise State back. Granted, it probably would have resulted in the same of Wyoming receiving that Dragon, but it wouldn't have included all those kills, and then Dean's is just gonna really drive it home, just rub salt in that wound.
No, the low health bars of Wyoming, they have to be, very careful about where they back. Is Dean on, a higher damage support than something like a Thresh going to be able to pick you off? So good job by Dean recognizing that. As I mentioned at the start of the broadcast, CLOL is going to feature all but 1 Mountain West team, 11 teams, UNLV not participating, and of course they're all playing at the same time. Nevada, who was the runner-up in the fall, currently trailing to Colorado State, which is probably the 2 and 3 teams in the Mountain West. If you have Boise State at number 1, they are the defending champions from fall CLOL. So that's something to keep an eye on. I don't know if Nevada has the same roster or not. We talk about Boise State's stability, and right now that Baron just melting. Is there anything Wyoming can do? The answer is going to be no. Coling can't find it. Dr. Blorbley throws down the Tibbers, going to drop the stopwatch as well, but he is caught out of position. A huge knockup from Ascent, and he goes down. Ethug on the back line gets taken out. So it is a 1-for-1. Crystalline Arrow going to land on to Rosero, barely buying enough time for everyone but Red Hots to get away. The volley spam slows them all down as well. So Boise State gets Baron, but loses 2 in the process. Dean lands the charm, the ignite as well, and he'll even it up. It's a 2-for-2 and Baron now for Boise State.
Still feels pretty good. They've got 2.5 minutes now left on that for the 3 remaining members. And honestly, I might have preferred it to remain on members like Ethug and Red Hots at that point. They are traversing far more of Summoner's Rift than Goblin and Dean are really able to. But that is quite all right. That gives them the pressure of the Baron empowered minions here. Now coming up 3 lanes. Thank goodness that tower in the bottom lane is finally down. Boise State was finally able to find it, but Wyoming, keep in mind, while they are winning a lot of these fights, they're not making anything up off of it. They did make that dragon in the last one, so they are ahead on that, but not a single tower down in their favor. And now this is the point in the game, getting close to 25 minutes, between 20 and 25, depending on the big lead. This is the point where it becomes unrecoverable if you let things fall too far behind, or if you misposition yourself or let individuals get caught out. You got to start moving as a group now as Wyoming, and it looks like they are, and they're looking to turn it into a fight.
Yeah, the one good thing for Wyoming is they have found a way to very much neutralize and use Ethug's aggression against him. He's had 2 fights in a row where he's tried to ult in on the back line and just been absolutely eviscerated. Will they make it 3? No, he's barely able to dash out of range of Rosero's hook in. A couple of other updates. Air Force took down Utah State earlier today in CLOL, and then always a nice sentimental note to production letting me know that Yusero de Sono, the support for Wyoming's mom, is in the chat supporting him, and she will be proud for that 2-man pulverize he's going to land. Wants to find Goblin, gets the stun, and Guppy picks it up right on cue. Orso de Sono gets 1 for Wyoming, and that's a great way to sort of limit that Baron pressure, is taking out a member who has it.
That is great to hear. We love support. We love family support. Boise State gets a lot of that, so it is good to see that it's also here for Wyoming. We have tons of parents that come into the esports arena when this was a thing that we would do pre-COVID-19. And so that there's nothing like the support of a parent in esports, because the majority of us grew up our whole lives with our parents saying, what are you doing with your life? You know, get off the video games, go find a job. And here we have parents supporting those kids because they trusted that they were able to make something with it. Doing a great job. Unfortunately there, so Sono gets taken down very quickly.
Here's entrance, perfectly knocks up Rosero, who teleported in, buying Ethug enough time to pick up a kill. He does get taken out, but Boise State's going to take down Devious King. Guppy incredibly low. Dr. Blorbley has Tibbers stun if he wants to drop it. Holding on to it, it's going to get CC chain, forced to use that Zanya's. Will he slam the R? No, he just wants to hold on to Tibbers, and Boise State's going to trade out. Just 1 for 4. Oh, the crystalline arrow across the map! Guppy, is nothing you could do about that. Goblin just big-brained you, and it's an ace for Boise State on one of the best arrows you have seen all time.
He is a god with those. And that's not the first one of this game. We have had plenty of, whether it's close-up and just spectacular timing and prediction, or completely across the map, helping with the team fight. Goblin is a sight to behold with those crystalline arrows, and that's why this has turned into the staple champion for Goblin.
Yeah, it just has everything Boise State needs from an AD carry. It has the ability to solo kill if he wants to play it in that. It has the ability to be a utility support with the arrows and the volleys for this continuous slow spam. And it does a great job with Ethug kind of making up for the damage that an AD carry would usually bring with his aggressive builds. We do see Charm landed onto Rosero, not able to find anything. Wolves have reset. He's going to flash hook, but Goblin reads it perfectly, flashes away as well. Ocean Dragon does go down, so it's tied it to his side, but the fight's still going to break out here. Oso de Sono trying to find a pulverize on the back line, going to get melted, pops that ultimate and is able to walk away. Guppy picks up the first kill, and now the rest of the members of Wyoming running him down. They've got a set on the back line, going to try and land a big taunt. He's going to get CC'd, forced to use that Zanya's. Can he find anything? The answer looks to be no. Dean's going to Spirit Rush in, and Boise State's going to immediately lose 3 members, and once again, it's Goblin and Dean disengaging. Wyoming at low health bars, but everybody's still alive.
So many times Ursa de Soto is going in, getting so incredibly low, and I swear is going to be the first one on the team to go down. But then this aggro, this rotation of aggro adjustment that Wyoming is forcing out in these fights is is fantastic, and that just gave them almost that full team clear. Hopefully they'll be able to find some pressure off of that, because that's kind of what Wyoming has been lacking. Granted, that wasn't really a great position for that fight to take place where they can actually make a move off of it or really make something happen. But I do think getting some vision down around Baron should be priority number one, as we can see that it will be up relatively soon. And there you go.
Orsa de Sono gonna get charmed there by Dean. Doesn't actually have anything come of it. Goblin was in rotation as well as Devious King, but no one's too worried. Vision War right now in the favor of Boise State, with that pink ward currently sitting in the pick, and to disable all the wards Wyoming wants to put down. A lot of summoners up for the side of both teams, but neither AD carry has their flash, and Guppy has been putting out a ton of damage. A double kill in that last fight. Dean, once laying the charm on Dracero, is going to land it. Ethug's going to land the knockup as well. Teleport's going to come in, and it's not going to be in time, as it's going to do a great job by Red Hots dispersing Wyoming. Now Boise State has a chance to rush this Baron down in a 5v4.
And we'll see if Wyoming is actually able to do anything about the Baron Pit invade this time. We saw last time Boise State just snagged Shelly, no problem, no contest. We do have our Zero down. That's going to make things quite difficult. 26 seconds still left on the respawn, and Dean is already anticipating a move forward as that Baron gets low in health. We'll see how he decides to initiate.
Perfectly picks off Guppy. No idea he was there. Here's entrance. Not going to be an impact in this fight, but it's going to put a set in on the back line. He's going to Proto Belt in. A perfect taunt. He's just going to use it on Dr. Blorbley to make sure he can't get away. The Annie will flash. Still has a ton if the W comes up. It's going to be enough with the volley slows, plus the traffic clone are going to stop her in her tracks. A great disengage there by Boise State, and this should be an easy Baron if they want to pick it up. They did lose Ethug, though, so they have to be careful that Devious King doesn't jump over the wall and win the smite battle.
Smite available at 30 seconds still on Ethug. We're getting to that point in the game, almost 30 minutes in now. That 30 seconds is a massive amount of time, and that smite is going to be huge. So it looks like Boise State is just going to reserve themselves a little bit here. Say, hey, we're just going to clear out the enemy jungle. We're going to make sure that they don't have any defensive vision. We're going to force them to utilize their current vision or utilize gold dedicated to that on their own defensive side so that they cannot attempt to play aggressively, because Boise State knows that some members of Wyoming have been able to do that. Generally, it is Devious King and Guppy and Ursa Sono, the three of them kind of traveling together, catching out a single member there of Boise State, and then the rest of it kind of falls apart because Wyoming is able to navigate up to the rest of the team fight, and Boise State is a little too split. But we are looking at almost 10K now in terms of the gold league, 60.8, 51.8. So things are a little terrifying. You're getting close to full builds from the Broncos here, and no matter how well Wyoming thinks they're doing or thinks they see somebody caught out, it's going to be really risky to make anything happen outside of their own jungle.
Yeah, I mean, this has definitely felt like a Boise State favored game, but every time the Broncos could kind of twist the knife in the chest of Wyoming, the Cowboys have found a way to hold them off and get a kill or win a team fight and slow down the aggression. But as you mentioned, it's still a 9K gold lead for Boise State. They're still definitely in the driver's seat. One mistake from Wyoming at this point in the game probably loses the game for them. Boise State has a couple more, but Wyoming could find a way to sneak back in. It's another Baron attempt here for Boise State. Great job with the vision. I don't even think Wyoming knows they are there. No one making a play over to it. Now they'll be alerted as they get the notification across their screen to a 3-minute Baron for Boise State and one team fight, and it's probably GG for the Broncos, so they're going to look to finish this one off relatively quickly.
And every single member there getting access to that. Boise State absolutely could have taken the Baron buff without Ethug. I honestly think the big reason is they knew they could wait and get that buff on all 5 members. Might as well if you can.
Here's the hero's entrance from Ascent. Going to knock up 2. Devious King now going to be sandwiched between Ethug and the rest of the team. Ethug picks up 1. Guppy in on the back line. Here comes Dean. Can he land a charm? Ascent over the wall. Orsa de Sono, the second one to fall for Wyoming. Stopwatch from Dr. Borbley, but it's not going to matter. He'll go down in a taunt. It's a double kill for Dean. Boise State looking for the ace. Dr. Borbley's Tibbers trying to clutch what it can. It's a 5-for-1, and Boise State should be able to wrap up the game here with this Baron buff.
With those timers, with those respawn timers, absolutely. The shortest one we're looking at is 20 seconds right now on Ursa de Sono. Devious King only about a second off of that. Oh. Looks like he might have gotten a stall of some sort.
You can't see the direction the game is trending in is Boise State going to pick up the victory here in short order with the Baron buffed minion. So I'd have to think that was the case. Looks like actually Wyoming surrendered. So that might have been why the client froze up there. It's still Boise State win. As we said, they're going to win just in a matter of moments anyway. So a really good job from Boise State. You still have to commend Wyoming's effort, though. They could have collapsed after Ethug picked up 2 kills in the first 5 minutes on that bot side. But great job by Devious King. He did all he could to try and match that aggression. But Ethug, he builds these champions so aggressive. If you leave him alive, he's going to one-shot somebody.
He can, he will. And Ascent, as usual, is another standout player there just in terms of committing to fights, of sacrificing himself, sacrificing his own life just to be able to get the overall team win for the Broncos there. But hey, this is a best of 3, right? So we still got a bit more of this.
Yeah, we still got at least one more game. Of course, don't forget the Idaho Army National Guard is a proud supporter of Boise State Esports. Our top plays at the end of every broadcast are presented by the Idaho Army National Guard, who invites you to take your impressive critical thinking skills into real time with more than 10 jobs offering a $20,000 bonus and your degree of choice paid for. The Idaho Army National Guard is the best team out there. Reach out on Twitch at iGuard Gaming for more information. We still do have at least one more game around the corner, Jolly, potentially game 3 if Wyoming can pull off the upset in game 2, because as we talked about in the game, every time Boise State could have really just ended the game at 20 minutes, 25 minutes, they found a way to win at least one team fight. They just couldn't win team fights back to back to back like Boise State did.
Yeah, it was great to see, though, because they were down a considerable deficit in gold. There was a point where they were 6 or 7K down and still managed to get a full team wipe. And either the full team wipe or it was one member left alive, and all 5 members of Wyoming made it out just fine. That was when I was bringing up that aggro rotation that was very, very clean towards the end, and I think that helped them a lot in that Boise State would aggress a little early. The rest of the team would be there to help clean up, but at that point, 1 or 2 members had already gone down, and it would have been more worthwhile to have everybody there. So it was not just Boise State maybe making some mistakes occasionally, though, or over-aggressing. It was absolutely Wyoming responding really, really well. They played reactively, much more impressively than we've seen a lot of teams going up into the Broncos.
Yeah, it was a great job for Wyoming. They just couldn't win those team fights in a row that they needed. Well, we'll give the times for the teams to adjust. We'll give our casters a little bit of a break. We're going to take a quick break, but we're back for game number 2. Don't go anywhere. Can the Broncos finish the series, or can Wyoming take us to a game 3? That's all next after this break.
Growing up in Idaho, we have certain rules we live by. Hold steady when out-of-state friends think you're from Iowa. And always buckle up. Seatbelts save lives. That's a rule we can all live by.
Legendary parts for legendary wins. Visit NationalGuard.com to begin your Guard adventure.
Back into the Boise State Game Pants Esports Arena. We continue on with our League of Legends, the first of our doubleheader tonight. Boise State and Wyoming taking place in the first game of LoL, basically the equivalent to the Mountain West Conference play for any of the traditional sports. 11 of the Mountain West teams entering into the tournament here. The top 4 will advance after a 10-game round-robin regular season when Boise State will play every Mountain West team twice. The Broncos winning Game 1 against Wyoming. Here you see the full breakdown. 376 schools, 11 Mountain West teams, only UNLV not entering a team. After the round robin, the top 4 advance with the Mountain West Conference winner making it to the playoffs, which will take place in early March. Similar to how we had in the fall, where Boise State took down Nevada and were the Mountain West champions before falling in the second round of the playoffs. Early Mountain West action that we've talked about. Air Force taking down Utah State. Colorado State, a little bit of an upset, taking down Nevada in game number 1. So we'll keep you updated on that series as Nevada and Colorado State kind of flipping between that second and third place spot in the Mountain West behind Boise State. So those are teams to keep an eye on here. But right now it's Boise State in the focus. And the Broncos, early game on the bot side, they took a ton of advantage of Guppy and Orso DeSoro, picking up several kills for Etha.
Yeah, and early on there was a lot of pressure though in response on that bottom side. We had just that entire the several ganks that came through for Wyoming, for the Cowboys down there, really helped out Guppy and Urso, and the two of them together. While we saw a lot of roam from Dean, you could tell that they were not willing to do that with Wyoming. They said, we're going to take advantage of that roam from Dean because Boise State wanted to apply more pressure to the top lane, wanted to allow a little bit more towards that top side of the jungle. And in response, Wyoming could have moved with them, but decided, no, we're going to stick with our combination. We have an Alistar and a Lucian, and these two champions together can absolutely go in on a solo Goblin, on that solo Ashe. And there were many times that Wyoming found much success down in that bottom side. It was really when things got towards the team fight stage that it was very heavy-handed. And Wyoming still managing to snag several of those for themselves when they were way deficient in gold.
Yeah, and a big reason why a lot of those team fights in the mid-game trended towards Boise State were the ganks from Ethug that we're so used to seeing when he finds an advantage. I mean, you see right there, 5-0-3, 14 minutes into the game on that Rek'Sai. The very aggressive build that we always see from him, second item, Affinity Edge, did start to trend off a little bit in the late game, as you could see here in the final team fight. Ended up with 6 deaths, so there were a couple times Wyoming found him out. But by the time they found out how to shut down Ethug, the rest of the Boise State team was coming online. Red Hots could sit there and be that tank in the middle, set up a great hero's entrance from that Galio, and then everything just kind of went, awry for Wyoming, because we talked about it in the draft. A very CC-heavy comp from Boise State, and it felt like if Ascent landed 1 or 2 man knockups with the ultimate, Boise State won. If Wyoming dodged the ult, those were used to the team fights that they won.
Right, or if that ult came in a little too late. That happened a couple instances as well, where Wyoming was able to take advantage before the ultimate came through, and at the point that it was set up and initiated, they were ready for it. They were prepared to have that hero's entrance. They all kind of receded to the outskirts of it and were able to collapse after that occurred. So absolutely, and we've come to kind of get that from Ascent, especially on somebody like the Galio, on such a very, very heavy engaged champion, and in particular with that global style ultimate, which they had 2 of on the team and landed in succession many of them. And that was another thing to point out too that's just very impressive with Goblin, is he doesn't throw those crystalline arrows out in there's already CC on the crowd, let's continue that CC. It's a, where is the CC lacking? Where is that individual player on the outskirts of the team that I can single out that the rest of the team is able to then jump on? So not just collaborative play with those global style ultimates, but really just recognition on timing, and that comes with experience on the champion.
Yeah, I think it is weird because it's one of those where Ashe isn't strong enough like a Kaisa to justify a ban, but the way Goblin plays it, if you can put him on something that doesn't have that much utility, it might be very interesting. We're getting ready to go into the Game 2 draft here very soon, and I will say, of all the champions we see, the only one to me that really feels like maybe it should get banned is actually Rosero's Darius, because I really thought it gave Red Hots a very hard time in the top lane, and it kind of could teleport around and make some plays. And I mean, we saw Darius get nerfed in the recent patch because he just heals so much. Not only the healing when you hit the Q, but with the Gore Drinker as well. And there were times he'd be almost dead and heal to 50%. So Darius might be something Boise State actually wants to take away from Wyoming.
I would definitely wait for the second ban phase because that Darius did so incredibly well as well in terms of being picked final. It was a final pick. It was a counter pick to, they assumed that Rek'Sai really is exclusively jungle. Rek'Sai is one of the few that you generally can't flex, and if you do, it tends to not go well. She has to be incredibly powerful or have items that work very well on her. So they had the assumption, okay, that final pick, that Trundle, is going to be going towards the top side. Therefore, let's get something that will be able to stand up against that. So I think if there is no top pick from either side, depending on how the pick ban phase goes, depending on not the coin flip, but what Wyoming decides to start on as well, maybe saving that pick towards the second half just in case, because it was strong enough in response to a pick. But I think if Red Hot's had somebody a lot stronger, a lot higher in the meta now, like even a Renekton, somebody that is very, very aggressive and does a ton of damage, that you wouldn't really have the same opportunities there on the Darius that they did in that counter pick instance.
Yeah, I think it is going to be really interesting because there were a couple things Wyoming did right. I think if also Dr. Blorbly could find maybe something just a little bit stronger in that mid lane. I know he's probably trying to win some brownie points with Doc Haskell, who loves that Annie, but it just felt like, yeah, Tipper's got a couple of kind of meme kills after the Annie died, but they needed just a little bit more oomph from that mid lane. Of course, don't forget that Boise State Esports is always recruiting top talent, not only in games, but also production and broadcasting as well. Top talent, along with good grades, can earn you scholarships as well. If you want more information, go check them out online, boisestate.edu/esports for more information and to get involved. We're waiting for the draft of game number 2 here between Boise State and Wyoming in CLOL. Of course, if the Broncos win this, they are not done for the night. We will have Upsurge coming up later this evening between Boise State and an amateur team getting a little bit out of the collegiate ranks. That'll be a ton of fun to see. But right now, can the Broncos take down Wyoming? I would love to see Wyoming draft something that has more early pressure for Boise State. Can you throw Ethug off of his I'm going to gank over and over and over groove? Because I think that's what teams that have beat Boise State in the past have done really well, is sort of nullify Ethug's presence early, and then he's so far behind, these damage builds can't get online as quick.
Yeah, I want to see maybe more aggression just in the bottom lane would certainly help Wyoming. I think the Lucian was a great pick in response to what was going on. I do also love the Alistar pick, and the two of those combined are great. I want to see a Core JJ Leona get picked out here. That's the aggression that Wyoming can run with Guppy and Ursa de Sono down in the bottom side. I do think that's kind of their best opportunity for focusing higher aggression, because we saw Rosero on the Darius. That's already obviously a very, very highly aggressive champ. The Annie, I definitely agree. The brownie points, I think you earned them already. And you can move on off of that Annie now, because Ascent is just going to run circles around a basic champion like that doesn't really have early burst ability to shut him out.
I see Ascent up on the stage there, so he had a little bit of that stage magic, a couple of kills that seemed impossible, but he was able to pick them up. And once again, just waiting for the draft to get ready. I'm sure Wyoming trying to figure out, okay, what went right in some of those team fights we did win, and what did go wrong. And really the other hard thing for both these teams is that we are so new into this meta. I mean, yes, we had preseason for a month or so to get used to these items, but we are still really, really new into this season. These new items, there really hasn't been an established meta of, okay, you can just go play something like, a Cassiopeia or an Azir last season that were so strong in the mid lane. So there's a lot of comfortability that I think goes into this game for what is Wyoming comfortable on, because a lot of champions right now are incredibly viable.
Oh, yeah, they are. There's a lot of opportunity here, and a lot of it, too, is based on how you build them. There is so much behind the items at the moment, to the point where there's constantly nerfs and buffs going back and forth. Mostly nerfs is all we've really had on these items. But if you can run a solid Gore Drinker champion right now on that top side, if you can run a solid Kraken Slayer ADC down in the bottom side, those items are heavy enough right now that you can kind of pick what you want as long as it falls into the viability of that choice. And Boise State also, at the end of the day, you know what? It's also way about the comp. It's generally about the aggressive team fight stage, and they play individually up until it is necessary to move in, and that's where their big confidence lies, and a lot of the times where their composition ideas stem from.
So we wait for game 2 to take flight here between Boise State and Wyoming. As we mentioned, all the other Mountain West schools in action as well. Two of the biggest competitors for Boise State in terms of the Mountain West Championship going at it right now. Colorado State and Nevada is what you see on your screen here. The Rams, victorious in game number 1, could potentially put Nevada in quite the big hole if they are able to pick up game number 2. So we'll keep you guys updated on that one as it develops. These were the two teams fighting in the losers finals last CLOL for a chance at redemption against Boise State. Nevada was victorious in that in a 3-game series before the Broncos beat the Wolfpack for the Mountain West Championship. So definitely a schools that Boise State wants to keep an eye on here. The Broncos want to be able to maintain pace with whoever wins that series. You do not want to start 0-1 against a team that, as you mentioned, Jolly, from chat before it started, Boise State was expected to beat. You cannot use this game. You cannot lose this series. But it looks like we are having a couple of issues with the draft, so we're going to take one more quick break. Then we'll be back with the draft for game 2 between Wyoming and Boise State here in our first CLOL match of this season.
Growing up in Idaho, we have certain rules we live by. Hold steady when out-of-state friends think you're from Iowa. And always buckle up. Seatbelts save lives. That's a rule we can all live by.
Legendary parts for legendary wins. Visit NationalGuard.com to begin your guard adventure.
State Game Pants Esports Arena, heading right into the draft for game number 2 between Boise State and Wyoming here. The Broncos picking up a little bit longer of a Game 1 victory than some had anticipated, but nonetheless, it was a Bronco victory, and they were starting to roll in that direction with a 10K gold lead before the final fight took place. So a lot of pressure on Wyoming to find out a counter. I think early pressure on to Ethug would be key, and right off the bat, Boise State's going to make sure Rosero does not get back on that Darius. They're first banning it away, and then there's still the Graves ban here from Wyoming, so they just still want to make sure Ethug does not get that powerful champion.
I guess I'm slightly surprised. Also, even just looking at what is played by these guys, by Rosero in particular, that Darius is not in even the top 5 of just played champions in general. I do really think it was mostly a counter ban. Thank goodness the Ascent ban came through, though. Whew. Had a little bit of a worry that the Rumble would make it through, and I did hear you mention that when I first jumped back in, that is just something that nobody allows anymore, and the few teams that have made that mistake will never do it again, I can assure you that. And it does look like Boise State is still here on that blue side, so Wyoming resorted to staying on the red. They want to be able to get that final counter pick, as it did help them a considerable amount in the last match.
Hey, interesting that Boise State opted for the Annie ban. Not something that I would have thought would have been ban worthy, but I guess not something they wanted to deal with. They're going to allow Wyoming to instead pick up the Kaisa there. So a great pickup for Wyoming, a very, very powerful AD carry. We see for Boise State, Yon, and not Shyvana, that is actually Seraphine being picked up there by Boise State. So I can't recall if we've seen her yet for Boise State last semester when she was playable, but something that we'd have to assume we see on Dean in the bot side there. So once again, giving Dean a very, very aggro AP support for that Jhin.
When she was playable, Seraphine is still playable. I love Seraphine. She is so darn aggressive, and she offers a ton of pressure and priority over minions in that lane. And with a Jhin to back that up, it is going to be a scary lane. So clearly, Boise State acknowledged that there was a lot of fear to be had in Guppy and Urso, and they are going to prioritize getting a very, very heavy aggressive mid laner there. And is that a cat? Now I'm concerned that everything I see is going to be something different. But Katarina being locked in as the final pick there. So aggression is the name of the game again for the Cowboys.
Yeah, that is a very, very aggressive pick. I guess the Cowboys banking on that being a Yon mid lane for Ascent. I know he had seen some experimentation in the jungle in his early months, so maybe Etho's got something up his sleeve, because, you know, if you pick a Katarina and then they're able to get some sort of CC mid laner like another Galio for Ascent, that would be a nightmare. We'll have to see. We see the Nidalee banned away, also the Mordekaiser, so not much changing here in the second wave of bans from what we saw in game number 1. Really curious to see what Boise State wants to go with here.
I wouldn't bank on that Yone actually being in the mid lane, knowing Red Hots. That seems like a Red Hots pick for the top side. We know that Red Hots used to claim that he's the best Yasuo in the world. It wasn't just NA, in the world. And Yone is very similar in style to that. So I wouldn't bank on it. It is very, very likely that Yone is going to mid lane, but I wouldn't put all my eggs into the basket as Wyoming, because that's also just a flex pick. That is another one that many of these players can go on, and in particular, Ascent and Red Hots stylistically seem like they could fall for that Yone.
Yeah, we see the Nautilus and the Lilia banned away there. That, of course, not because they're scared of the Lilia in a different lane. That is not a Shyvana. That is a Seraphine, just a pro draft issue. So Boise State does not actually have the jungler. So Wyoming making some decent bans with the Nidalee and the Lilia there in phase 2. Boise State, the Nautilus ban, similar to the Alistar that Orso DeSono played in game number 1. Of course, still a chance for him to run it back. And I do think, yeah, there is an option, Jolly, for maybe to use that Yone somewhere else, because if you avoid picking tanks, yes, your team will be really squishy, but you're also going to shut down a lot of the use that a Trundle has in stealing your tank stats. So I don't know if Boise State's maybe considering trying to weakening Rosero and say, well, you can't steal any tank stats if we just don't have any tanks, and there's a Blitzcrank pickup for Wyoming. So a very, very aggro pick for Orso DeSono, and there's the Renekton for Red Hot. So not the yellow.
All right.
Whoa,
I'm okay with it. I'm okay with that, in fact, being the case. Red Hots taking that Renekton. I actually just talked about it in the last one of I want to see Red Hots. The example I gave was Renekton, because Renekton's so incredibly powerful right now and is easy to definitely able to deal with a lot of different styles of champions on that top side. And then when it gets to the team fight stage, Renekton offers so much. The Skarner is going to be the final lock, and I'm so curious about these teams. Both teams trying to kind of pick some flexes. I do think Boise State should be concerned about the Kaisa. That alone is enough to sway my opinion on how hard Boise State should attempt to go in towards that bottom side, because Kaisa making it through may have been a mistake on the bans. I would have done Kaisa over the Annie. I would have done Kaisa, I mean, even first round over the Darius, any of them, to be honest. She is that high of a priority that it seems like Boise State either wanted it to get through, or maybe they were hoping they could pick it up after allowing a pick or two to go over to Wyoming. But that seems like an oversight to me.
Yeah, the Annie was the one ban that to me kind of raised some red flags for Boise State. It was something where I was almost like, if Dr. Blorbley gets it again, you're kind of like, okay. I mean, he made some plays, but he was in the end, I think, 2-8. But maybe Glovely can shine some light on what Boise State's trying to do. Glovely, what are your initial takeaways from what you saw in that draft?
Initial takeaways, I am slightly confused to Wyoming's picks here. We've got a couple of champions here that are very efficient at being able to destroy through tanks. The Trundle and the Kai'Sa very early on. And then we look at the rest of their composition and their champions that are very good at sort of assassination. If you're caught by a Blitzcrank and you don't have a decent-sized health bar, you're probably gone. And looking at the side of Boise State, the only thing they have to defend against that is that Renekton. So they are going to be very reliant as the game carries on that Renekton to be that front line for them, to potentially throw himself in front of Blitzcrank hooks in order to avoid their squishier members from getting blown up.
Yeah, and Jolly, I feel like Boise State, we joked about it a little bit. Well, you know, Trundle gets countered if you don't build any tanks. They didn't really build any tanks. I mean, Renekton's the only tank, so are you more concerned about Boise State, Jolly, or like now Rocero's kind of useless and Boise State might have the advantage?
It's not even Rosero that maybe I'm as concerned about. Glovely just mentioned it's a bit of a confusing draft on the side of Wyoming. Boise State very, very hyper focused on finding a composition that works for them to, in the end, win the game. Generally, it's relatively early on. It's to force that early team fight stage to kind of promote that a little bit sooner than it normally would be. But I don't really see exactly 100% is going on with the composition here. It seems like they ended up picking a lot of strong champions that the individuals enjoy playing, which can work well, can sometimes be the best option going into a team that overall might have a better composition in general.
Well, 30 seconds to the game, so Glovely, give us your final thought here. Who do you think wins, and what should we be watching out for in game number 2?
I think Boise State still has a really strong lineup. They are going to have to be very careful of the Blitzcrank, so watch where the Blitz is, watch where the Skarner is. They're the ones who are going to be causing the plays around the map for the side of Wyoming. They're the ones who are going to determine the tempo.
Well, Glovely, I appreciate it. We don't have to worry about a Game 3 to see you again because we've got another series, so either way, you'll be back at some point later this evening. Thank you, Glovely, and I cannot... Hopefully it's for Game 1 of the next series. I don't want to bring Glovely back for Game 3 because that would mean Wyoming would win. We get Doc's keys to the game. Understand your comp, understand your win condition, respect their spikes, and play your game. All brought to you by Count, who's an Identity Trust Global Network, delivers real-time fraud prevention, account protection, and a personalized customer experience for more than 9,000 leading brands and payment providers. They offer quick and accurate identity trust decisions, help deliver safe payments, account creation, and so much more. If you want more information, go check them out at count.com, KOUNT.com. Of course, a lot of pressure on Orso de Sono, as Glovely kind of hinted at, as that Blitzcrank. He can totally change team fights if he's able to land a hook onto a key member with no tanks for Boise State. There's usually not really a bad target. And the other pressure he's got to watch out for, Jolly, is that his mom's still in the chat. So a lot of pressure on him to make sure he doesn't, whiff on a first couple of hooks and let that pressure get to him of his parents watching it.
Oh, yeah. The nice thing is, if your parent is supporting you in your esports career, you can probably do little wrong in the game. What they want to see is Urso do well for his mom. That's more of how I see it. Not that he's feeling stressed. I hope he's not. But I hope if he gets a good play, when he gets these solid plays that we've seen, he knows, hey, my mama's out there. She's watching. She saw that one. And we're going to call it like it is.
We really do need like a hi mom kind of emote for players to be able to run. That would be fantastic. Was a little confused, not at the explanation, Jolly, but what Boise State has brought out is Ascent is on that Jhin in the mid lane. It is the Seraphine and the Zoe in the bot lane. Boise State always finds a way, even when it seems simple, to just absolutely change up things.
We'll see how it works for them this time. There's the Kai'Sa once again. Good thing for Boise State though. They did snag in that insanely aggressive bottom lane. So having the ability to get the consistent heals, the movement speed from that Seraphine, and the lane priority. The priority and the pressure on the lane is gonna be huge. And that means that Guppy and Ursa are gonna have an even more of a steep drive to go down, I guess, in terms of they really need to keep their pacing. They really need to make sure they don't just let it slide forward. They have to watch out for E-Thug here on this Yone. And I love that Boise State did this to us because they always do. Because this is classic. The lineup You can tell we didn't see them for a moment because they're like, hold on, we got to adjust this. This is a little bit off.
Too simple. It's too simple for the cast.
Yeah, of course. Ascent there in the mid lane going into this Katarina now. And so you've got Goblin and Dean actually on Seraphine and Zoe. The only thing I'd be concerned about right there, right now off the bat is the amount of magic damage that is provided by those two and the lack of attack damage.
Yeah, I do think it does fit into that game one strategy of, you know, Goblin on that Seraphine's going to have access to the heal, going to have access to the displacement ult that is going to CC people, and so it again sets up a Dean can roam around, Goblin can kind of sustain himself in a 1v2, and a sense on that Jhin, who in a 1v2 would be awful, and can pump out a ton of damage. The double Dark Harvest in the mid, I mean, if Ascent doesn't have Flash, he's got no way to escape the Katarina, so it's really going to come down to can Dr. Blorbly get in range for an all-in ultimate before Ascent just kind of pokes him down with that range advantage, because neither of them have much of a disengage besides Flash. Katarina can sort of jump to the dagger, but Curtain Call is going to make short work of hers. So I want to see which mid laner gets a gank first or just all-in somebody first.
That is a very good point, though, actually, Fish, that you just brought up of Goblin is going to be expected to do a lot of this solo. And I had mentioned she has such good priority. She has such good pressure on the lane, and that you don't really have to put yourself in an uncomfortable position as Seraphine if you are solo. You can put some pressure on the minions, get it adjusted, and stay back while still feeling safe enough to, you know, to make a little bit of movement and rotation thanks to the mobility that she has. Still, the fact that Guppy was probably my MVP of the last game, and the fact that it's on Kaista now scares me. My goodness, though. Woo!
I have the range advantage. There's a hook on the Goblin. Gonna get the root onto Guppy. They're gonna try and go chasing. Dean at full health. Goblin at about 50% does have the 3-stack pass available. Ignite's gonna go out onto Guppy now. Flash from Dean. Gonna miss the paddle star. Another flash. Heal comes out. And the very last tick is gonna get first blood for Boise State. They don't need a gank this time, but it's the same result. Guppy goes down. Dr. Blorbly incredibly low. Devious King trying to run down Ascent, who's got no mana in the mid lane. Paddle star off the Sleepy Time is gonna do some damage to Orso de Sono. And Boise State's unconventional bot lane right now proven to be very, very tough to deal with.
They are running low on mana. That is the one concern with both of these champions, is that you are going to have some mana struggles early on in the game. Both of them are very low. We can already see Zoe going to try to make her way up. Maybe a little bit of return pressure here to prevent Dr. Blorbly from getting comfortable and pushing this lane out. But that means bottom lane is recall. That gives potentially a good opportunity, and Wyoming just doesn't have the chance for it now. So Boise State's making it work. It doesn't matter. They have so much priority in that lane. They can keep the pressure.
You see Rosero get the 1v1 onto Ethug, who was just trying to soak up some of that minion XP. Red Hots had already backed. Actually, Red Hots had been killed while we were talking about that bot lane. As we see, the teleport's already been used, and he is at 0-1. So Rosero right now, they banned away the Darius, but he is still very much a thorn in Boise State's side. 2-0-0 on that Trundle. I will say the damage difference between a fed Trundle and a fed Darius is going to be quite large, so Boise State won't be as concerned in the late game. We see Orso de Sono now rotating over towards that mid lane. Ethug's right behind him. Ascent's got to be careful. Here comes the boost in. Grip going to land. Knockup as well. Exhaust is going to be used, but it lands on the wrong target. It lands onto the Blitzcrank. Tries to flash away. The Ignite's not going to matter either. Tower not enough. And Dr. Blorbly and Orso de Sono combined for the third kill for Wyoming only 6 minutes in.
Very, very smart move there. Wyoming ended up recalling at the same time that Zoe moved up to the mid lane, and Seraphine had to recall due to lack of mana. And instead of just going back down to that lane, or instead of taking the time to push that lane, they decided, hey, you know what? We'll do the same exact thing. Let's do the double recall, but we're going to send Urso to the mid lane on the return. Now Guppy's in trouble.
Fortunately for Boise State, Sleep Trouble was going to miss. The root will land. He's incredibly low, but there's no follow-up for Boise State. No paddle star available for Dean. And Guppy's going to walk away with just a sliver of HP, but it does do enough to prevent what would have been a very easy dragon from falling into the hands of Wyoming. So Boise State can at least be okay with that. Neither top laner has teleports, so they can't join any fight, but Red Hots has to make sure he stays alive. So Cero's just putting down a ton of damage. Already has that Sheen finish. That Trundle going to be a threat for Red Hots for right now.
Both hit level 6, though. So Red Hot just sitting under tower early on at this point. Great pickup by Rosero, and that was the first pick for this team as well. So they saw that the first ban was Darius. Rosero's like, that's fine. I will absolutely take that as long as the Trundle's not snagged as a first pick, which is a very, very weird one to do for a blue side. It wasn't. Rosero decided to lock that one in. So the confidence behind that pick is in fact justified as Rosero just popping into the lower side jungle. A few pings coming out. There is some vision there momentarily for Wyoming. And the rotations are just happening so quickly in this game, we can see that it's not even dependent on the jungle as much as the last game here. It is really dependent on where the whole team decides to move the fight.
Dean almost walking into that dragon, picking a throwdown award. We'll give away his location. So his first dragon picked up here for Wyoming. It is going to be that mountain dragon once again. So we'll see if the soul once again falls on Infernal or what the options are going to be. Is right now, Boise State, I will say the lone bright spot for them, despite being down 3 kills to 1, is that the farm in most of the lanes is even or ahead, even down the 1 kill. Red Hot still maintaining pretty even pace with Rosero. You see Ascent has a over 20 CS lead on that Katarina, which is basically enough to nullify the kill gold. So he's in an even lane, and then you see in the bot side Goblin up by now 13 and climbing. So Boise State keeping in this game. The reason they have the gold lead, actually, despite being down 3-1 in kills, is that CS. And so Boise State really playing on an even field despite the kill differential, which is huge for them, because when you fall behind in kills, we saw Wyoming, it's hard to find a way back in with that goal differential going against you. As we see a gank here, Rosero gets Red Hot's low, baits out the ultimate. Devious King just trying to wait for the ult as a suppress. There's no one to assist Red Hot, so he is just dead in the water. He'll try and heal as much as he can, but it's not going to be enough as Rosero's on a killing spree. Meanwhile, in the bot lane, Boise State has Dr. Blorbley incredibly low. Dean's going to flash in. The ult comes out, and that's going to force him to flash back away, and Boise State can't find anything, and they're not going to be able to even up that kill.
Now, one additional in favor of Wyoming. They've got a little bit of a gold lead now, thanks to that kill, and while early on the kill differential in terms of gold isn't so heavy, it certainly becomes something when you allow that differential to spread beyond a small amount. And now we have a 3-kill difference between the two. Boise State's going to need to figure something out. They need to not get caught out. This is even a dangerous situation. That's a level 5, just now level 6, going into 2 level 6s. So you got to watch for those ult opportunities. And Wyoming is doing a really, really phenomenal job of just keeping an eye on the minimap, really making these rotations and figuring out where they can make the most of an impact and abandoning or ignoring the situations that they know are lost causes.
Dean just using the free flash given to him, just to probably holding on to it to see if they can have an engage. Orso de Sono going to try and feint out something when baiting out the hook. Nothing comes of it. Boise State was ready for it. Rosero now once again going to jump onto Red Hot's going to slow him down, try and do as much damage as he can. There is once again no assistance for this Crocodile, and the permanent slows that Trundle can apply are so incredibly annoying. Double flash going to come out. Can Red Hots get to the turret? He can. Doesn't have the ultimate though. Not enough lifesteal as well, and Rosero 4-0-0 on that Trundle. Meanwhile, Dean going to be taken down. Ethug is down there. Orso de Sono incredibly low. The heal will come out from Guppy, but it's not enough to save him. Guppy going to dash over. Will dodge the wave from Goblin. Gets knocked up by Ethug. No teleport coming in from Rosero. They've got to retreat quickly. And they're going to make that Trundle burn that teleport for absolutely nothing. Boise State goes 2-for-0 on the bot, or 2-for-1 on the bot side.
They adjusted their focus to that bot side. Like I said, that's where Boise State is going to need to keep it, especially when you have a Kai'Sa on board. That Kai'Sa is now sitting at 1-2-0, and Seraphine does have the creep advantage. So Boise State has done a good job of keeping focus here. Now looking for a jump on the top laner.
Ult onto Rosero. Probably got a little bit too greedy trying for that. Those tower plates. He's going to be taken down. The shutdown goes on to Ethug. Last person you wanted on. Meanwhile, Ascent. Solo kill Dr. Blorbley. He's now got Devious King and Orso de Sono. Going to flash out of tower range after the ultimate. Gets slow. Dodge the hook though. Exhaust will come out. But Ascent's waddling away as fast as he can. Knocked up in the air. Sleepy Trouble Bubble just misses saving him. But Boise State wants to keep chasing. Paddlestar's going to do some damage, but they're too quick. And Boise State will lose their mid laner, but he can pick up a kill in the process.
While the kills have gotten much closer, it feels like Boise State's not as successful in these. We're getting a lot of Wyoming grouping up and consistently cutting to a member, to a Bronco, running away for dear life, absolutely not going to make it out thanks to the amount of CC that Wyoming has to offer. And it's interesting because it's working out for them clearly.
See, Dr. Blorbley nearly gets caught, just barely able to get away. And I really think Wyoming, if it wasn't for that death from Rosero, would be so incredibly happy with how these first 12 minutes have gone out. But that huge shutdown going over to Ethug is the reason Boise State has the gold lead once again. It is that 400 to 500 gold difference. So I think Rosero a little bit too greedy, a little bit too overconfident in his 4-0-0 status. And if he plays that just a little bit more passive, Boise State would still be reeling. We see right now Ethug is caught in the Dragon Pit. It's an Infernal Dragon neck, so it's either a Cloud or Ocean Soul coming the way of the Rift here in a 10 minutes or so, depending on when the Dragon gets down. It's spawning soon, and neither top laner has teleport, so it's going to be a full-on 4v4 on that Dragon.
And look at the CS differential in the middle there, 113 to 72. It looks like we are setting up for a fight, though, around the Dragon Pit towards Wyoming's jungle side. At least Wyoming is definitely trying to set one up.
Goblin gonna get hooked over the wall, will flash back. Boise State now gonna trace Devious King, he will get charmed. He's going to get knocked up there by Ethug, who dashes right back over the wall. Curtain call will come out, but it's already a 1-0 for Boise State. With the jungler down, this should be a free Dragon for the Broncos. They should tie things up. Oh, the rocket grab just misses onto Dean. And Boise State walks away 1-0.
And that gold differential going to continue to move in their favor. Now, only 1K, but that is the most that we have seen so far today. That Cloud Drake comes, or the Cloud Soul comes into effect as the winds quicken. And we have 30 seconds left on turret plating. Very minimal in terms of that. Almost never have I seen Boise State not take a single tower at this point in the game, just based on the level of aggression that they play. But that's because Wyoming is kind of sending the fight all over the map. It's not, Boise State doesn't get to choose this anymore. It is not reactive, exclusively reactive play coming from Wyoming. It is a solid mix of both of these teams being forced to play reactively and making proactive plays.
Yeah, turret plates even across the board. We see the flash. Sleepy Trouble Bubble onto Dr. Blorbley. He is not going to be able to get away from that route. Ascent picks up his second kill, 2-2-1. But the CS difference meant that all the while Jin had that lead. It's nearing 50 CS for Boise State's mid laner in front of the Wyoming mid laner on that Katarina. And we do see the first mythic item for Wyoming come out, the Triforce on that Trundle. A little bit different build than Red Hot's had, and I think Rosero's trying to kind of even the amount of damage he did on that Darius last time. Again, though, you mentioned this, Jolly, every time we go, it's Boise State member waddling away. Ascent's going to get ulted in by Devious King. Ethug trying to save him, but he's now just going to have to retreat. The rocket grab misses, but the slows from Rosero, meaning that it looks like Ethug might just be dead in the water as well. Forced to flash. Ignite comes out. Barely has enough HP, but gets a little bit too greedy. Does pick up a kill thanks to the turret, so Boise State goes 1 for 2, but probably not the trade they wanted to have.
Wyoming forcing this push towards the mid lane, acknowledging that we're going to likely do better if I just let Kaisa do her thing towards the bottom side. That's going to force the remainder of Boise State to focus here on this mid lane. We can easily keep an eye on the top laners. It's easy to see when one of those guys is missing. And as long as you keep the pressure here in this mid side, there's enough to creep or CC with the Skarner and the Blitzcrank that it's just going to be easy pickings, especially if these members of the Broncos keep just kind of, as you said, waddling over, deciding, oh, this looks like an opportunity for me to hit this tower, and 3 members of Wyoming are sitting right there.
Yeah, and the amount of just slows that exist on the Wyoming team, not only with the Skarner, but also with the Trundle. I mean, even when Boise State tries to escape, they're moving at just such a reduced movement speed. They can't get away. There's not always someone in range to help. Does look like Red Hot's attempted Red Buff Steal, not going to go his way. Rosero wants to turn the fight. He is absolutely ripping through that health bar. A rocket grab just to make sure Renekton cannot get away. Dean and Goblin were there, but now they have to be incredibly careful. And Boise State, once again, going to lose a member in the Wyoming jungle. This could be Rift Herald going over to the Cowboys if they want to pull the trigger.
And that's something that Glovely brought up just a little bit earlier, saying, you know, there's some pressure, and you touched on it as well, Fish. There's some pressure on Urso here to get those rocket grabs, and we are not disappointed. At least Wyoming fans are not disappointed in the number that Urso has been landing, and that's why they're totally fine with Urso just completely roaming from the very beginning, really even earlier than many times Dean will begin to roam, and Dean is known as one of the highest roaming, or at least early roaming supports that we get to see in this league. So Wyoming is feeling very comfortable at this point in the game, though Boise State still does have a minimal gold lead.
Yeah, that is the one, good thing, bad thing about Blitzcrank. He can turn any fight with the rocket grab. If your team's behind, the last thing you want is to start a fight. So as long as Wyoming's in the lead, yes, as you mentioned, Boise State does have that 1K gold lead, a lot of it on the back of the fact that they did take down that first turret in the top lane and the CS lead, especially in that mid lane and that jungle. But as long as Wyoming can stay even with Boise State, stay ahead, Ursa DeSoto's going to have a ton of pressure. Dean right now, he's going to blast cone right into two members. Didn't even know they were there, just trying to ward the jungle. Hashtag support life. But he barely makes it out alive. Goblin's going to heal him, and now it's Dr. Borbley who has to be careful. Unfortunately,
hashtag support life.
Yeah, right hashtag support again. Life. I'm going to go ward. Boom, you're dead. But somehow Dean makes it work. Unfortunately, his set does get 1v3 in the bot lane, so Boise State can't gain anything but a 1-for-1. But they should get mid tower here as Ursa DeSoto is going to back off and wait for the rest of the team.
Thanks to Dean, or thanks to a Goblin, actually, that Dean made it out. So support life and then support life of Dean getting caught out there as the official support, playing really a mid lane and an AP carry. Goblin jumping in and getting the echoed W. Sorry, I love her, but I still don't remember her ability names. The Echo W, which absolutely saved the life of Dean right there. And maybe that's not going to save the game or anything like that, but that just shows you how big of an impact this flexible support offers.
Yeah, I mean, if Dean goes down, Boise State probably doesn't pick up that mid turret, so now they're up 2 turrets to 1. Dragon is up. Both teams trying to vie for that second dragon here. Goblin's going to get a 4-man ult, but that was just in safety. He thought that was going to go right back in, gets a 2-man knockup. He will dash back to safety as well. Curtain Call's going to come out as well. 1 miss. Going to land a second one onto Guppy, third one onto Rosero. Here comes the 4th shot. That is going to go through the uprights. It is no good as it's going to whiff on everybody, and that should mean free dragon here for Wyoming.
Yeah, 3 ultimates now down from Boise State, and they got nothing from that. They didn't get a kill. They didn't get pressure on the dragon. They're not going to be able to make anything up off of it or make some compensation off of that misplay. I don't know why. I don't know why all of those ultimates were pulled out. It was good to try to put some pressure on, but clearly Wyoming the whole time was like, we're fine. We're tanky enough that we can deal with this.
They got the stun on the Guppy, even despite the flash. They still have a turret to deal with, and Rosero rotating down as well. Devious King in on the back line. There's no turret here for Boise State. Red Hots is the first target. Guppy's going to jump in as well. Thug is here, but it's a dead crocodile for Boise State. Now Goblin caught in an awful position. He's just going to use this to distract the team. Boise State loses 2, but it could have been a whole lot worse. The Broncos' gold lead still remains intact, but it's shrinking in very quickly.
And now they're getting that jungle clear. Finally, Wyoming has been able to take some of this map presence and pressure away from Boise State. They're just such an overwhelming team, such a dominating team, that rarely can you comfortably navigate your way through Boise State's jungle without being absolutely dismembered. Wyoming's recognizing, all right, we are at that point. We've been moving as a team for a good majority of this game, and clearly it is hindering Boise State from making the plays that they want to make. So if they keep this up, again, Boise State still has the gold lead, but something's going to have to change so they can find more of an advantage than 1K, now less than 1K.
Yeah, I'm sure a lot of eyes in the Mountain West now switching over to this game. As we mentioned, it's CLOL. 11 of the Mountain West teams playing in a 10-round robin regular season. We'll each play each other once. We've already had our first big upset of the day. Colorado State taking down Nevada. Nevada was the second-place team, played Boise State a handful of times in the championships for the Mountain West and CLOL last semester, of course, with it being double elimination. Broncos knocked them down to the losers bracket. Nevada fought all the way back. I think even forced this to the penultimate grand finals before Boise State was the champion, and now the Wolfpack starting out 0-1, and Boise State would love nothing more than to have that one-game lead. As only the top 4 teams from the Mountain West make the playoffs, Jolly, so you cannot afford, if you're Boise State, to drop to a team like Wyoming, which a lot of people thought should have been an easy 2-0 for the Broncos.
And not only that, but the 2 teams that you were talking about mainly of Nevada and CSU, those are the 2 teams that last spring, when the Mountain West tournament was just an annual thing in the springtime, those were the 2 teams that ended up making it. Boise State at the very end just barely falling short. It was actually to University CSU, sorry, Colorado State. So it was, there's a lot of acronyms here. Right?
Yep.
It was the CSU that Boise State fell, and then there was a dominant win from Nevada. And look at that pull. But to see Nevada fall now to CSU in that first round, it's like, man, just there's so much mayhem going on in the scene as everyone kind of figures their rosters out.
Yeah, we talked about it for Boise State. First time in a few semesters they haven't had any roster turnover. Don't know what the rosters for Colorado State and Nevada look like, if they're similar to last fall or not. I know there were some changes from the spring roster that you were talking about where Nevada won. They did lose a couple of players to graduation last spring. So a couple of changes. Maybe the Mountain West power is starting to shift, but Boise State right now came in as the top seed. They're the defending Mountain West champions. They showed it in game number 1. Game 2 right now has been a little bit closer. The gold lead has been predominantly in Boise State's side. It's only 400 gold right now. That is, you look at Ascent and you look at eThug's CS numbers compared to their lane opponents. That is the big difference. As eThug's going to ult in, will miss onto Dr. Blorbley. He will teleport back in time. Speaking of teleports, here it comes from Rosero. The fight wants to start for Wyoming. Can they run down Boise State? Dean does get slowed, but Skarner can't get in range. A Devious King can't find an ult target, and Boise State's just going to disengage here, only burning that teleport for eThug's ultimate. A pretty fair trade across the board.
I was honestly not expecting this close of a game. Maybe Boise State got a little bit too big for their britches. Maybe the Broncos, picked a funky roster. Let's see this fight, though.
They have so much kiting potential if you're Boise State. You can just annoy guys like Devious King and Rosero. Unless they get on top of you like we see right there, then they are the people who are getting pestered. But right now, Boise State doing a great job keeping them at bay. They will give up a tower, so now the tower lead shifts in Wyoming's favor, 3-2, and the gold lead squares out across the board. You've got a Dragon up, you've got a Baron up. This could be potentially the third Baron or third Dragon for Wyoming, and that might spell the deal there as Red Hots gets caught out and immediately falls.
And that is the one tank of the game. Renekton really not even being considered more of a bruiser, a tanky bruiser. And right there, we saw 5 members able to easily find somebody out waddling in their own jungle, just doing their thing, seemingly safe and okay. And now Boise State, can have a little bit of pressure here, but if one of them gets caught out, they don't have anyone to run interference on aggro.
Oh, good job by Rosero. Thought he would just blind walk into that. Still gets hit by Sleepy Trouble Double and the Paddle Star. Gets rooted as well. But all of that to buy time for his team to pick up that Dragon and put the University of Wyoming on sole point. Boise State, though, they're going to pull the trigger. They immediately want this Baron call. Red Hot's teleporting in. Dean's trying to stall out. eThug as well going to get knocked up by the Blitzcrank, and Red Hots has to fall back. Now they're going to rotate over to the Baron. The health has reset, though, and Boise State's going to try and pull this one off.
It is a dangerous choice to make, especially when you know there's a Blitzcrank that can snag anybody from this fight and pull them over the other side of the wall.
Boise State forced to disengage. Rosero trying to break the team up. He can't find it. Devious King's going to land the ult onto Ascent. Has the force shot. Going to back away, though. Has to be careful. Ursa de Solo going to go in range for a rocket grab. Going to land one on the Goblins and knock up spells Doom for Seraphine. Dean forced to flash over the wall. Guppy now leading the charge. Ascent going to flash away at low health. eThug in the same position. Barely gets his shield. Red Hot's forced to dash away, but the nice pillar from the Truddle's going to slow him down. Somebody gets caught. It's eThug. And now this could be a free Baron for the University of Wyoming.
And now Wyoming is, this comp is kind of starting to make a little bit more sense of really just interruption. There is so much interruption on this team and interference in the style of play that Boise State is trying to run with, which is that high aggression style. And there's nothing that Broncos are going to be able to do about this Baron. Not only do they get that on all 5 members, maybe not on the cat here, actually.
It's a great job driving the first. Fourth
they also have the
curtain
gold
call misses.
now.
Yeah,
Finally.
It was really close. 3 of the 4 curtain call shots missing, unfortunately, to Dr. Borbley. So all 5 members get away. And yeah, you nailed it, Jolly. It's the interruption of how Boise State wants to play. Boise State wants to just kite the whole time, really just annoy these melee characters. But for Rosero, the ability to use that pillar to get that slow immediately shuts down the kiting, and then you get Devious King in your face, you get Guppy in your face, and there's nowhere Boise State has to run.
And then, if you try to escape, then you got Ursa de Sono anyway with that rocket grab to pull you right back in.
Rosero
might be caught out? Nah,
No.
he's fine.
It looks like he's able to get away. Does get the ult from Red Hots, but nothing more. And for Boise State, now you've got to start finding ways for them to get back into this game. I mean, it feels like it's got to be on the back of Ascent. He's got the most CS in the game. He is 2-4-1, but still going to have a ton of gold. Rosero might get caught out here. Paddlestar going to be used. The amount of healing that Trundle can do, very, very incredible. Boise State's going to have to disengage. It is now a 4v1 on the bot side. E-Thug just being ripped apart, but finally Rosero goes down. Raid Boss down, and a shutdown for Red Hots. Can Wyoming generate pressure across the map now, because it took 4 Broncos to kill him?
Raid Boss down for sure, and that's we've seen Rosero just go in so confidently on these kinds of fights. Generally, he'll kind of move away on the 3-4v or the 4v1s maybe. There's an ult now though.
That was a great charm onto Devious King, and this is where Wyoming could run into some issues. Yes, they're pretty far ahead. Yes, they had the Baron, but if you get caught out and allow Boise State to 1v3 you, 1v4 you, no one on that team is tanky enough to survive, and Boise State wants to find one more member. Doesn't look like they can get in range, but still 2 good trades for Boise State, taking away Baron buff from about half the Wyoming team here with a minute left. Should cancel a lot of the pushing they could have done if all 5 members still had it.
And you've got so much mobility from both Rosero and Devious King of 2 members that you want to take the Baron buff away from. Those are the 2. The same thing happened to Boise State last round. Of the 2 members that Wyoming was able to nail down, it's focus on that top lane and that jungle, because those are the main engagers for both of these compositions on the teams. And now we're looking at close to 2.5k gold leads, 2.3k in the favor of Wyoming at the moment. Boise State needs to keep finding those fights. But you can't send one member out. You gotta group. We've seen this time and time again in the exact same spot right there. Doesn't matter who it is. If you're on Boise State, you're not gonna survive all 4 or 5 members.
No, Dragon spawning soon. It would be Soul for Wyoming. Less than a minute for that. Red Hot should be alive when the Dragon does respawn. No teleport, and he should be able to make it in range. So a huge fight here for Boise State. Cloud Soul, not the most impactful soul. It's not an Ocean Soul. It probably is almost considered one of the weaker souls in the game. But the movement speed on someone like a Skarner on someone like a Blitzcrank can be very, very annoying. As E-Thug's going to get gripped in and just get deleted. It's a tower for Wyoming as well, and now Boise State's got to contest this Dragon without a smite from E-Thug, and that's going to make it nearly impossible.
And while that Cloud Drake, that soul isn't necessarily the best, it's still a soul, and that's more than we have fish, so it's going to be taken there. 3 Cloud Drakes in a row for Wyoming, so they're going to be pretty pumped on movement speed. They love it. Their team can just cause more interruptions. The faster they get in, the more they can do to stop Boise State from doing anything.
Yeah, the alt reduction as well, plus the movement speed when they ult. Guys like Trunthal, Skarner, Blitzcrank, all going to love that. Katarina not so much, can't move during her ult. Guppy probably doesn't mind, but Guppy's gonna walk right into the death bush. Nowhere he can go with the shutdown for Red Hots. Can Boise State follow it up with another kill? No. That's why you always ward your brushes, kid, even in your own jungle. Boise State setting something up and keeping themselves in the game.
And no grab there, no real follow-through from Wyoming. I swore we were going to see a rocket grab from Urso there, because there was a good opportunity for, really, they actually split up a single member from Boise State. That's a bubble outside of tower.
Rocket grab's going to miss. Boise State's going to play around that cooldown. Rosero forced to try and run away. E-Thug dropped. Rosero still holding on at very little life. Devious King trying to find an alt target. Dr. Blorbley doing the same. Rocket grab now back, and Boise State's got to be wary. Trading 1 for 1, probably not what they want to do, but still it's the Broncos being the aggressor, which you would not expect based off of the kill numbers or the gold lead, both favoring Wyoming.
And much more heavily than we've seen in the past. Ooh, the rocket grab just missing. Sleepy Trouble Bubble is going to hit, but that's just Boise State making it out of that fight. And Wyoming should continue to be confident in their play. They have many more objectives now, especially considering going into Boise State last game. I think they only ended up getting 1 tower, maybe. Now they are looking at 6 compared to Boise State's 3. But Boise State is just doing such a stalwart job of keeping that gold differential low. Normally when you see double towers, that's a pretty massive. You're looking at least 5K. Another engage, though.
Double towers, a 7-kill lead right now. Boise State almost loses Red Hots, but he's able to stay alive. Ursa de Sono going to do the same thing, but I think Wyoming has also done something we talked about before the second draft of neutralizing Ethug. He's only 5-5 on that Yone. It feels like sometimes when he dashes in, he picks up a kill. Sometimes when he dashes in, he just falls over because he is all offense. There is no defense when you're someone like Ethug. So for Boise State, they don't have that jungle presence they're used to, and when you don't have a real AD carry, that hurts a lot.
And not only that, but Red Hots, who is that frontliner who is supposed to be that aggro taker on a lot of these fights in Boise State, is looking at 3-7-0.
The curtain call come out. Baron dropping incredibly low. Dean going to be taken out. The ult's going to bring him right back. Does Boise State have a steal in mind? No, they do not.
No.
Second Baron of the game over to the University of Wyoming. And right now, the Cowboys in uncharted territory. The last time the Cowboys took a game off of Boise State in League of Legends was November 8th of 2019, over a year and a half ago. And right now, the Cowboys sit in a very good spot with a 5K gold lead in Baron plus a soul.
That's a single game, you were saying, Fish?
Single game.
Wow, that's a rough one, but this has got to feel good. And Wyoming is a team that we actually see go into the Broncos quite a lot. So it's not as though they're foreign, but this is a good game for them.
And we see a nice hook on the Red Hots there. The ult from Goblin not going to do enough. Ethug tries to dash away, but the Kaisa will take him down. Goblin, the next focus for the Cowboys, but this could just be a misplay as they do see Dr. Borbley drop incredibly low with the Baron buff. They should be able to siege these two Nexus towers incredibly quickly. Instead, going for kills, and it's going to cost them. You see they're all incredibly low. Dean is set the only ones alive. And Boise
They have a Trundle, though.
They do have a Trundle, who is just at full.
I mean, has gone down to close to single-digit health and been just fine multiple times. There you go, 2v1ing, and the rest of the team abandoned this. This could have been the game right there for Wyoming, and they weren't confident enough. And look, Rosero is still there on his own. Knew he could do it, knew he could stay alive, and is still going to manage to take down the turret and take down this inhib. Likely, this will still be the end of the game. But it's a little terrifying when something like that happens, where you absolutely could have committed. You had that, and you kind of backed off a little too much.
Yeah, remember when Riot said they were going to take a look at healing in this patch? Apparently, when a guy 1v2s and ends up with more health than when he started, not an issue. I know in the recent patch they tried a little bit. They've tried a little bit. I still think Grievous Wounds probably needs a huge buff, but that will be for another day. Rosero backs. He's going to teleport in. We'll see if his team follows him up this time. They're going to jump right on to Red Hots. He's going to ult for the extra health, but a nice barrier is going to stop him in his place. The disruption is there. Everyone for Boise State falling back to the fountain. They're going to hook Ethug off of it to pick up one more kill in just a matter of time. Boise State can defend all they want, but it's not going to be enough. We're heading to a game number 3 as Wyoming, with the first upset victory of the series, able to push this to a winner-take-all. And questionable picks from maybe both teams. I know both of us were kind of confused by the Katarina, but when you have a Trundle that can do what Rosero does, doesn't really matter what the rest of the team is.
It worked. That was exactly what they wanted. And I'm a little surprised that I honestly didn't see the basis of that composition of just standard interruption and movement speed as well. They had a lot of mobility on the team. So Boise State definitely think, got a little too big for their britches. Went with a pretty crazy comp in comparison to what we've seen on them. I think the lack of a tank, though, is really what drove the nail in the coffin, to be honest.
Well, if you're looking for something to fuel your next workout or hike, if you want sustained energy as well as peak mental and physical performance, Bang is the energy drink for you. Bang Energy, potent brain and body fuel. And it's going to require peak mental performance and physical performance from Boise State or Wyoming game number 3. That is the one thing about these series. When you get to a game 3, it can be so taxing, not only mentally, but making sure you're still hitting all the right keys. So it is going to be a lot of pressure on these teams. We're heading to a game 3. We're going to give everyone a chance to sort of take a little bit of a break. So will we. We're going to take a break, but we'll be back with game number 3 of CLOL between Boise State and Wyoming right after these commercials.
Growing up in Idaho, we have certain rules we live by. Hold steady when out-of-state friends think you're from Iowa. And always buckle up. Seatbelts save lives. That's a rule we can all live by.
Legendary parts for legendary wins.
Into the Boise State Game Pants Esports Arena. We are in game number 3 of our opening week of the 2021 LoL season, basically acting as conference play for League of Legends. Boise State and Wyoming going at it right now. We've already had some results in the Mountain West. We've seen Air Force take down Utah State. We've seen Colorado State with a small upset of Nevada. Both those teams in the upper echelon of the Mountain West. Both of those would be predicted to be in that top 4 that you see on your screen there. 376 schools overall, 11 Mountain West teams. The Mountain West will play a 10-game round robin. Every team playing every other member once. Top 4 advance. The Mountain West winner, which was Boise State in the fall version of this, will advance to the playoffs, which are in early March. As I said, Colorado State and Nevada probably expected to advance. The Rams got the win over the Wolfpack. Boise State probably came in as that number 1 seed, and right now they are in a grind fest against Wyoming as we head right into the Game 3 draft here. And we see Jolly once again. It's very similar bands across the board. There's the Graves, there's the Rumble, and there's that Volibear, and then there's that Darius. They are targeting Rosero as much as they can. Or Glovely, excuse me. Not sure if Glovely is there, but I cannot hear him, so we'll keep going.
My apologies.
There we go. There we go. Welcome back, Glovely.
We're all good. So, yes, Skarner being taken off the board I think is an interesting choice. Definitely did have impact on the game, but I think that was more of a compositional issue. Trundle going to be picked up, so obviously favored pickup there for the side of Wyoming, especially after how dominant it was in the previous game. I expected to see more grievous wounds on the side of Boise State.
Yeah, definitely felt like Boise State had no healing reduction. I am kind of shocked that the Trundle was able to make it through. I would have thought that was probably a better ban than the Skarner, as Devious King played it well, but I mean, without the ability of Rosero to basically 1v4 at points, I don't know if that Skarner had as much pressure. So we see there's the Ivern picked up. There's the Vayne as well. Boise State finally getting some of those more stronger picks. They get the Kaiser for the first time, and Ethug's going to probably pick up that Nidalee, something that's been banned away from him twice by Wyoming.
He does in fact have that Nidalee, but there is a Pantheon on the field. We have seen what a powerful jungler that can be. We've also seen it flex into both support and mid lane. So very versatile champion there, picked up from the side of Boise State. Lulu is going to be banned away. Great champion there for protecting your team, while Malphite's going to be the answer on the other side.
Yeah, both champions we have not yet really seen in this series. There's the Annie for Boise State, which again raises some question marks. I mean, Dr. Blorbley didn't play it all that well in game number 1, I thought. I think in game number 2 probably didn't need a ban, but it looks like Boise State just doesn't want to deal with that. And you see the Gnar banned away by Wyoming. The Victor pickup here for Ascent in the mid lane, something that we have seen him play from time to time last semester, a very, very strong mid laner, and I'll be curious what Wyoming wants to go with. It's a Fizz, so Dr. Blorbley sticking on that assassin style, we would have to think.
Almost certainly, and is going to lock in the Nautilus, give themselves a tank for that final slot. We did see that banned away previously. Leona's going to be the answer, so definitely tanky supports are the focus of this meta right now for both teams. Both of them giving themselves great opportunities for engage. And that was something that Boise State, I think, was lacking on very much in the previous game.
Yeah, I mean, the problem there is that sort of conundrum with a Trundle where do you just play around him by not building tanks, which I think is what Boise State tried in game 2, or you just accept the fact he's probably going to ult the tank and maybe either wait it out or try and burst him down before he's able to get that ultimate off. And it looks like Boise State game 2 tried the no tanks. Rosero still was an absolute monster. This time they're going to try for, hey, let's have the tanks so we can absorb some of the damage, and we'll just let that Trundle be a Trundle. So very curious to see what that's going to be like for Boise State.
And I got it. They gave me the Leona. I wanted it. I wanted that aggression. We're going to see it.
I mean, so Glovely, I guess we'll throw it to you for Boise State. Do you think they have enough to counter this Trundle that Rosero just absolutely popped off on, since they apparently decided that it wasn't worth banning?
I think that now that they have their hands on the Kai'Sa, they've definitely got a much better shot. She likes to build that Kraken Slayer, absolutely chews through tanks with her passive. So even if Trundle does steal a whole bunch of health and resistances from her lane partner, Kai'Sa very good at being able to drill through him. I do hope that they end up picking Grievous Wounds in this matchup. That was something they were sorely lacking in, as we saw Trundle able to 1 versus 2 in a very sustain-heavy meta. I also think that they have a lot more ability to determine the tempo and pace of the game. The Pantheon, a great champion for picking out a target, locking them down, gives them some more initiation ability for their team, especially with that Leona backing him up.
Yeah, and you talked about the Leona, Jolly. What do you want to see from Dean? Do you want to see the be there and support Goblin and maybe finally win that lane, or do you want to see the let Leona roam wherever she's going to be and make plays across the map while Goblin kind of 1v2s on that Kai'Sa?
I think the primary thing that I want to see that's really heavy in the meta in terms of those high aggression tank supports that we've been seeing a lot right now is just the early aggression and taking the other team. It always ends up being the other team kind of takes it for granted, and that a Leona jumps in, gets the Zenith Blade, gets the stun down, and is like, okay, we're fine. We don't need to necessarily burn flash. Maybe there's no gank from the jungle, but there's enough sustain there. There's enough survivability on the Leona and the CC that she provides for early pushes just to get a shove in that early bottom lane. So that's really what I want to see. I do expect Dean to do the standard Dean thing and start roaming pretty early on, but I really want them to see, or I want to see them get a lead in that lane before that really happens.
All right, 30 seconds to game. Glovely, your last question. Who do you think wins? And do you think Ethug's able to get it going early in this game? Because game 2, he was shut down from the start.
I definitely favor Boise State. I think they've got a much better composition than they did the last time around. And as far as Ethug goes, playing on this Nidalee, it's one of his favorite champions. We've seen how devastating it can be. He is going to be playing into an Ivern, though. So as far as I'm concerned, he's going to be able to win those early fights.
We will have to see who the victor is going to be. It's a winner-take-all. Wyoming and Boise State, week 1 of CLOL here. The Broncos really would love to get out to that 1-0 conference start. So it would be great for the Broncos if they can pick that one up. Wyoming looking for probably the upset win of week number 1. Of course, Doc has the keys. He's got to break them all out here in this 3-game series. Wants to make sure that Boise State does not fall down to 0-1, even if it takes the sweep the leg that we have sometimes brought up from time to time. So I'm going to be really curious if Boise State can pull off this victory, because right now Wyoming's got to be running on pure adrenaline. They just kind of bullied Boise State from start to finish in game 2, and they got Rosero back on that Trundle, something that I don't know if they were expecting, because I was expecting that Trundle to be banned away.
And like you said, not just that, there's that high of it's been over a year since these guys have taken a match from Boise State. You said November 8th, I believe, 2019. That alone has got to feel good, because this is a team that we have seen go up against the Broncos a considerable amount. And while they always managed to hold their own at the start, Boise State managed to overtake things pretty quickly and sway the gold lead heavily in their favor. And that's what I really liked about this, at least from Boise State's side, is while Wyoming managed to get a lot of objective control that Boise State normally has, they did not allow the gold to sway too much in their favor until things really got out of hand and the compositions ended up just adjusting things too much to make up for.
Well, we're going to throw ourselves right into game number 3. Winner starts at 1-0. Loser will fall to 0-1 in the 10-week regular season CLOL schedule in the Mountain West. The top 4 teams advance, so every loss is something you want to avoid if you can. This time, looks like it's Pantheon, which we usually have talked about in a jungle or support role. It's his job to find a way to shut down Rosero, and as Glovely also mentioned, Grievous Wounds probably should be in a kit of the majority of the Broncos, because we just saw the amount of insane healing Rosero could do if he gets ahead.
Yes, that is something to look out for. The fact that we didn't have it banned out is a wild surprise to me. But I do feel like Ethug is on somebody confident. We got that Nidalee ascent on a really dominant champion right now. And the Kai'Sa, I think this Kai'Sa is going to be huge, because Goblin wasn't really able to play how he wanted to last game, to be honest.
And we do see the red buff start here for Boise State. So it should be an interesting, maybe they want to focus on Rosero this time. We usually don't see Etha going up into that top lane. Of course, it usually, before this season, and really even in the preseason, was a very tank-heavy meta up there. Ganking guys like a Shen and an Ornn really didn't feel that impactful if you were able to get a kill. So I would love to see Etha prioritize that top lane, shut down Rosero. That's actually exactly what you can do. You can see the pings going out here. They want to land probably an early stun and put a ton of chip damage onto him. There it is. There's the stun. Spear's going to land as well. Level 2 flash already burned for Rosero, and that could not have been a better start for Boise State. They get the flash out of that trundle. It's going to open him up for another gank here whenever Ethug wants to come back.
And that's going to give him the opportunity to do what Ethug loves best, gank every moment that it is available, every opportunity that he creates for himself here. I want to see this Leon aggression. We can already see Dean right there sitting in the bush getting ready for something, and those are the plays that you have to watch out for. It doesn't matter how tanky you think you are with that Nautilus, even getting the condemned is not enough to prevent the hard CC here.
And both supports going to hook into each other. They'll meet in the middle, and everyone will disengage. Nice stun from Red Hot on that top side. Rosero, though, with that healing. Conquer has been proc for both of them. Red Hot's got to be very careful, and unfortunately, it's first blood over to Rosero. And Boise State right now, once again, that trundle going to be an issue heading on to the game if he gets a couple more of those.
And it's great, too, because Boise State's the one that initially in that first game pulled out the trundle. They ended up winning with it and gave it up the second game, somehow let it through now this third game. You know, they've got to know how strong this champion is in the hands of Rosero right now.
Yeah, I mean, Red Hot's already using that teleport to get back to lane. Ethug get backed after that level 2 gank, so not going to have a lot of follow-up as Ethug is down on the bot side of the map. You do see Ivern's actually up on the top side. You do see Zenith Blade's going to land on Orso de Sono, but that Nautilus should be able to get away. He's going to dredge line back in. Dean dropping incredibly low. Ethug is there. Spear's going to land, but not onto the right target, so everyone will disengage, and Boise State can't find a kill.
Red Hot's getting jumped on again. Rosero continuously has the level advantage on these fights. Another thing that Red Hot's has to really be concerned about. And Devious King is in the wings.
Devious King's in the perfect position. Red Hot's forced to flash away, just barely gets enough healing from the last tick of that Corruptor's Potion, and he's going to be able to hold on just barely against Wyoming. Just constant pressure on that top side. I think that's something they've done very well, is Devious King has realized Rosero's the guy this series that I need to make sure is in the carry spot, and he has been up top lane time and time again.
In Boise State, I can see I missed the first 30 seconds. I had to pee. My bathroom's way far away, but Boise State is on the red side now. That's going to do it, the burn.
Yeah, it was interesting.
So they selected red side on the loss.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's interesting they not only selected red side, gave the first pick over to Wyoming, and then didn't ban the Trundle away. All very interesting. Dr. Borbley going to get stunned up there by Ascent. Does get the extra shield from Devious King. Fizz still has to be careful, though. No Playful Trickster. Oh, the flash from Ascent, just not enough. Thought he could get the kill. Unfortunately, Dr. Borbley's going to live with less than 50 HP.
Devious King wanted nothing to do with that fight. Devious King, they had essentially a pinch under tower, and Ethug there manages to get it anyway.
Dean gets condemned into the wall, flashes away from the dredge line, though, so he's not going to get hooked back in. So, unfortunately for Wyoming, they can't find the kill. We did see a quick flash mid lane. Ethug picking up that kill onto that Fizz, who just was a little bit too slow in backing with that low HP, and that's what Ethug loves to do, is pick you off when you think he's not there. So Boise State gets back in the kill lead now and has that gold lead at about 1,000.
We'll see if they can maintain it, and we'll see if Wyoming can do the same thing that Boise State managed in that last game, is basically managing to pick up and recover everything that leading team is not able to carry, along with everything else. We've seen a lot of objective focus there from Wyoming, that transition from that first game to the second one. Really not so much objective, just trying to feel out the team. And they've adjusted that. Dean now going to go in.
They've got Ethug in the back line there. Oso de Sono even on that Nautilus. Nothing you can do. This is what you want to see if you're a Boise State fan. Ethug getting on the board, helping out that bot side. I'm sure Red Hot is, you know, as we've seen from last season when ganking top wasn't an option, it's like, hey, just hold on, man. Just survive as long as you can. We'll be there shortly. Dr. Borbley going to rotate down. Not sure if Boise State has vision on him. The answer is they do, as that spear lands perfectly onto him. He's going to playful trickster away now. Goblin caught in an awful position. The Shark's going to land, but he's able to flash over the wall. Boise State wants to re-engage, but they're not going to find it. Nobody has teleport on that top side to join the fight, and Red Hots isn't level 6 for the ultimate, so Boise State right now just going to maybe try and pick up a sneaky dragon here with that advantage.
So many summoner spells down too for Boise State, so they don't want to put themselves in too risky of a situation, particularly towards that bottom side. Looks like Wyoming wants to fight though.
Yeah, they're going to get the root on to Dean. The tanky Leon is able to get away. The condemn helps as well. The heal is going to make sure he stays alive. Dr. Borbley in an awful spot. We see the ult from Ascent has come out as well. Playful Stricters into the fight. Got to get that shield, though, from the Ivern. Is it going to be enough? We see the Dredge line onto Ethug. The answer is no. Dr. Borbley is going to go down. There's the Zenith Blade root. And Boise State on the back of that Dean play not only surviving. Big shout out to Guppy there with the condemn away from his team. Boise State picks up 2 more.
That's what I'm talking about with the Leona, that aggression. It's really, level 4 is generally like when you're able to get that full commit. You got a couple points in your W. Generally, that's where you start maxing out that shield. And then you have both the Zenith Blade and the stun. And when you're able to have your team follow that up, there's very little that Wyoming's going to be able to do until this Trundle comes around. So that's going to be the concerning part, is Boise State needs to find enough of an advantage elsewhere to really make up for this massive Trundle.
Yeah, I mean, you see right now, he just absolutely solos Red Hots. There's nothing that the Pantheon could do. Didn't have flash, and I mean, Rosero, yeah, you mentioned he's going to be a thorn in Boise State's side, and that is the only downside to the Leona, is as tanky as Dean wants to get, one click of a button, Rosero is going to steal all of that. So I don't know, maybe they can find him out with a Solar Flare Zenith Blade combo and kind of chain CC on him long enough that the ult not only goes down, but they can burn him down. But Rosero right now, all pressure on him to kind of get Wyoming back in. Here comes Dean and Ethug. Red Hot's going to ult in as well. There's the first stun, followed up with the Zenith Blade. There's nowhere he can go. They layer the CC perfectly. Meanwhile, Ascent in the mid lane, he's got to be careful. Does use the barrier, has Ignite as well. Dr. Borbley going to dash through. One more shield from the Q. Is it going to be enough? It is for now, and he's going to pick up the kill. He will die to the Dredge line, but Ascent should not have survived that. He'll take the 1-for-1, and Dr. Borbley is going to be a very, very sad fish when he respawns.
Incredible timing there for Ascent to manage to stay alive with that shielding. Dr. Borbley not feeling great, but at least the kill was made. There's an assist going over, but that is an 0-3 and 1 Fizz.
And this is what we talked about with Leona. You get in somebody's jungle, you Zenith Blade, you stun them, there's nothing they can do. Rosero's got to be careful. Even at 2-1, he cannot do a whole lot into that Leona. And she is maybe one of the better tank counters to Trundle, because sure, he has all the stats, but if he can't play the game, who really cares?
The crowd control is the big part of it. And while her survivability is a big part of that kit, I think that they can definitely tear through. It depends, though, because if Rosero just keeps getting these free kills, it'll get to the point where he's just too strong for them to do anything. Luckily for us, for Boise State fans here, there is Grievous Runes already picked up by Red Hots, but we saw him walk in with that Grievous Wounds on that last fight, just trying to emerge under his own tower, and he got decimated by this Trundle. So even though there's still a really good opportunity with the amount of CC, it's very concerning, and he needs to be taken down a notch very quickly.
Shelly's going to be summoned in the mid lane. Teleport has been used by Rosero to try and stop it. The charge will go off, but the tower will survive. Wyoming should be able to take down Shelly before she's able to pick up first tower for Boise State, but that is still a ton of plate gold. Meanwhile, on the bot side, Vivius King stole the blue from Boise State, trying to make a play happen, but Boise State smartly just hanging out by their tower. Ascent chilling there. Does you get that pillar where he's kind of stuck? He can't go anywhere. Forced to flash away. Ethug rotating down. Doesn't want to make a play, though, and he's just going to hang out. The good news for Boise State compared to last game, even though Rosero's not as fed, but still pretty fed, Ethug's 3-0-3 this time. Last game, it was more like 0-3-3 is what Ethug was on that Yone.
Would you need to be a little bit concerned about Red Hots? We just saw, it wasn't even mispositioning. It was walking all the way around the tower, including taking 2 tower shots and a wasted flash. And nothing was really gained from it. Shelly went down, but Red Hots himself really didn't do anything. And that's the last thing you need, is to be going into this Trundle and having just used your flash because you went too far under tower in the mid lane. Now that you're back in your own lane, you have to be twice as safe, and that means that you're losing out on a lot of experience and gold from that creep.
Stretch line's going to land on the Goblin. A condemn from Dean is going to get a stun as well. But now they're going to be chasing Dean. He's forced to flash over the walls. Devious King was hanging there in the background with Daisy. No kill picked up for Wyoming, just burning time from the jungler. But right now, Red Hots has got to be careful, but he's baiting Rosero right over at Ethug. No idea he was there. The flash isn't going to matter. And that's how you do it at Boise State. You lull him to sleep in confidence, and then you bait him right into your jungler.
And a 4K gold lead now in favor for Boise State. At 12 minutes in, that is a very big amount. No early towers being taken here. It is strictly Boise State with these massive kills, this massive amount of kills here, and also maintaining a lead in CS in almost every single lane. The only one that is not is top, and it's a 6 CS difference. And the amount of plates as well that Boise State has managed to get has been very impressive. We've still got another minute and a half left on those, so plenty of more gold that Boise State will be able to put in their pockets. And while Wyoming's doing really well on the trundle up there, this gold differential and the items necessary to take him down, including grievous wounds, will come up quickly enough for Boise State to take control again.
Yeah, the other thing is that they've forced Rosero, or I don't know if maybe it was Rosero's plan. I don't think it was, because it looked like he was building damage and then had to pivot. They've forced him onto the tank item. He no longer has that Triforce and the ability to just pump out insane damage. So they aren't going to have to deal with the Trundle who can 1v2. They're just going to now deal with the annoying tank Trundle who steals your stats. So that's a huge win for Boise State that Rosero can't play as aggressive as he wants to in this matchup, because there's not a lot of damage on this Wyoming team. You see Fizz at 0-3-1, not going to be helping out a whole lot. Rosero does a respectable chunk chill, but Red Hot's able to survive, and it's second Dragon for Boise State, and it's a Mountain Soul for the Broncos, or the Cowboys this time, and I'm sure Boise State would love to pick that up. That extra shield might just be too much for Wyoming to overcome with this current comp.
And it is interesting, as you mentioned, Fish, there's not a ton of damage on this team, and they need damage going into the opposing team that Red Hot has, or that Boise State has compiled here. And so to have Rosero go onto the Aegis, the Sunfire Aegis there, as we can see, over the Trinity Force that worked so well for him last game. I can imagine a big part of that is the very quick purchase of Grievous Wounds there by Boise State, just making it into less effective, but still kind of hurts.
Nice Zenith Blade from Dean. Gonna get the stun onto Orso de Sono as well. Guppy will condemn him into the wall. Third shot is going to land, flashes the Solar Flare, and Boise State will trade ult for a flash on a Vayne, which is pretty huge because right now it really does feel like it's Guppy's show. He's got to be the damage for Wyoming. They need Dr. Blorbly to start to get online. The CS difference between him and Ascent not as bad as last game, but he's still 0-3-1 on an Assassin who is going to be hurting for items. So Guppy's got to make sure he is always in great position, and right now he might get caught out. Goblin's going to start the 1v1 duel. Ethug coming. One spear's going to end. It doesn't matter. Goblin 1v1s him. And now Wyoming's looking like they might just not have enough damage to contend with Boise State.
That is the power of that Kai'Sa. We saw Ethug on the way. I don't even know if Ethug ended up getting an assist there, trying to prevent the back. Let's see if Red Hots can do it again. Yes, Red Hots will do it again. Little do you know, Rosero, there is a ward in that bush you are attempting to recall in, so it makes it a little bit easy to stop it. Ascent going in a little bit heavy, has a big push in this mid lane, and that first tower is going over to Boise State. We're now looking at a little bit less of a gold differential, so at least Wyoming has felt a little more comfortable in terms of creep score and pushing some of their lanes, but I don't know if it's going to be enough once Boise State maintains pressure here, now in 2 lanes.
Yeah, the CS score is a lot more even across the board, though we do see Goblin still with a pretty sizable lead over Guppy. The only problem for Wyoming this time is the kills not in their favor, neither are the turrets, 2-0 there, and neither are the dragons, 2-0 there as well. So it is nearly a 7K gold lead 15 minutes into the game, and things have snowballed quickly out of control for Wyoming. We'll see if they're able to find a way to beat Boise State, or at least come back in. As we talked about, they haven't taken a game off Boise State since 2019. They've done that. They actually won that series as well. So they're trying for their first win in a year and a half. And right now, things not going their way here in game number 3. Dr. Borley going to get caught out. Red Hot's going to ult in. He'll play for Trixel over the wall. Zenith Blade, not sure that hit, but the game says it does. And Goblin picks up a kill. Boise State on the back of some shoddy coding is going to get another kill.
Yeah, I think we need to talk to Riot about some hit boxes that we have been seeing as of late, whether it is that should not have hit or that absolutely should have hit. Zenith Blade tends to be one of them.
It's a lot wider than it looks on screen. Daisy is there, so is Rosero, so Boise State wants to retreat. They have Ascent on the flank, and they have Ethug here as well, so it would be a 4v5. Fizz is up soon, but does not have a way to get back into the fight very quickly, so Boise State just kind of bully Wyoming around. Not many objectives on the map either, just a Rift Herald who loses a lot of her value once the plates have gone down. Dean looking for something. Little does he know his team turned away.
Daisy came out there for a moment and was immediately taken down. Now Boise State has turned their attention to Shelly. They shoved Wyoming as far back into their own jungle as possible, and they're turning this into a fight.
That's how you do it. They're going to get Rosero incredibly low. He will fall. It's a 4v5. His Ascent still waddling down. Boise State picks up 3. Who needs your mid laner? It's an ace for Boise State in a 5-on-4. And the Broncos should be able to pick up this Rift Herald with ease. And for Wyoming, that could be the start of the dagger in the back.
Absolutely. That gold differential now is almost 9K. So things have turned to Boise State's favor pretty heavily. I mentioned it, even 5 and 6 minutes, we were looking at over 5K gold lead, which is immense. And given that, Wyoming has still done a really good job in these fights. So kind of what I was hoping for as well, I touched on that before the game started. Boise State, even though they were so far behind in objectives and kills, they still had maintained that gold differential. Wyoming trying to do the same thing, but they can't find any footholds, anything to grab onto really, because Boise State has still kept the creep score, and that was what kept them alive in that previous game. Wyoming doesn't have that opportunity right now, and that's something that's hard to recover from.
Yeah, you see this gold lead now sitting at 10K, and when you have a gold lead that is almost equivalent to 50% of the game that's gone by, you know you're in a good spot. 10K gold lead. Not even 20 minutes have gone by. That is just absolutely incredible. Boise State set themselves up here for a very, very simple take of this Mountain Dragon if they want to. Right now they have Rosero in their sights. I think it should be a little bit easier to 1v3 him if they choose, but he's going to be able to get the sneaky back off. The ward misses. I think he still had the animation far enough along that he would have been able to get it off anyway, but Boise State very, very comfortable right now in terms of everything going on across the map.
There was a tower that Wyoming managed to snag up on the top side. So they are trying to find small victories in these larger losses, because Boise State is taking all of the main victories, all of these main objectives at 10K gold differential this little time in the game. Wyoming's not going to win a 5v5.
Now they might win a 4v1 as Ita gets caught out. The shutdown onto Guppy as we see Red Hot's going to jump in. Unfortunately for Wyoming, do they have the health to sustain? They lose one. Rosero's going to go down. It's a double kill for Red Hot. Devious King, the next target, can put the shield on himself. Not going to get the explosion in time. Guppy's going to get followed in by Goblin on that Kai'Sa. It's a 2-level lead for him. Dr. Borbley in the worst spot you could be, even with the Playful Trickster. It is just a matter of time before he falls. He will flash away. It is not enough. Boise State picks up a turret. They pick up 4. And even in a disadvantaged fight, Wyoming could not find a way to win.
And that's it. You're not going to win a 5v fight. You need to be maintaining your base control. You got to sit under tower. You have to fight where it is safe. And that was a fight 5 steps away from their tower. It started out well. Yes, the 1v4 is absolutely the way to go, but you also have to know where the remaining 4 members are.
Rosero probably trying for the last minute hero play there. Teleports in, gets 1v4'd rather quickly. And I think for Wyoming, it's starting to add up here. The Cowboys put in a brilliant effort to take a game off of Boise State, force them to a game 3, but I think maybe it was Rosero's decision to go tank Trundle. Maybe Red Hot started to figure out that matchup even after a slow start, and he's been very, very big on this Pantheon, 6-2 and 8 since that 0-2 start. But something has just not gone the way of Wyoming, and you and I both thought leaving them Trundle was a misplay, and Boise State has proved us wrong.
I guess they had a response to it. They assumed that if they let it slide, it was going to go through, and there the ult comes out on the Ethug.
Heals all of the damage up almost instantly. So, and the other problem, unfortunately, for Wyoming is when you have the assassin mid laner, he's got to just have a little bit more of an impact on the game. You just see one item finished for Dr. Borbley 20 minutes into the game. He's just not going to have that pressure and that damage that you expect to see from a Fizz. And I think that is the other issue that Wyoming's running into, is there's just not enough damage right now for them to be able to consistently win team fights against Boise State, who are going to just pick up a 21-minute Baron like it was nothing. There's not even a contest from Wyoming. I'm not even sure if they know what's going on.
No, not at all. And I think the big part of that, actually, a big part of what you were just touching on a little bit ago, Fish, in terms of that mid lane, that poor differential in the mid lane, eThug very much so focused on the mid lane. Throw a lot of ganks on the mid side. Was like, you know what, I get it, Red Hots, you're struggling up there. There was one attempted gank that didn't go well for eThug, but that's when he reconciled and was like, all right, we're going to focus then on pressuring Ascent above, not allowing this Fizz, the highest damage dealer, one of the highest damage dealers they can expect here, to go out.
Boise State's going to get everything thrown at Orso de Sono. Zenith Blade and the Solar Flare. So Dean not going to have that ultimate, but still putting in a sizable chunk of damage, and it's going to be enough to force Wyoming to just run away, tails between their legs. You see Shelly pushing down that top side. Baron buff minions as well. One more charge is going to go off. Daisy's going to join the fight, but there's not a whole lot Wyoming can do. Orso de Sono and Guppy still yet to join the fight. Here comes Orso de Sono. Guppy now on screen as well, but Devious King's already gone down. Rosero forced to run away. Keo comes out. There's a max range Zenith Blade. Dean's going to stay alive. I don't know how he does it. Guppy not in a great position, going to get stunned up by Red Hots. He will be taken out. Orso de Sono, the next target. Dr. Borbley, not much he could do as well. And Boise State going to wrap things up with the clean 4-0. Rosero's going to BM on the fountain, but that's all he can do. It's a victory for Boise State, and the Broncos going to move to 1-0 in CLOL.
Shelly MVP right there. That Shelly jumped in on that first inhibitor tower at 40 health, made it all the way through to the Nexus tower, stayed alive at 5 health through the majority of it. So even Wyoming wasn't able to get one auto attack that far into the fight. Boise State coming out victorious.
Boise State, the game plan from game 2, which was just throw as much damage as you can in Wyoming, all they needed was that one tank. They needed Dean on the Leona, and everything went their way. It's a 2-1 series victory for Boise State. I'm sure Ascent is pumped up that the Broncos able to be 1-0 in the CLOL series. Of course, there you see the thumbs up from him. Colorado State also sitting at 1-0. We also know Air Force took down Utah State of the 11 Mountain West teams that were in it. Boise State is one of the ones that will be sitting at 1-0, and that's a good place to be as the top 4 do advance. Don't forget that our top 5 plays brought to you by the Idaho Army National Guard. I'm sure we'll see some of those very, very soon, Jolly. But for Boise State, a little bit roughed around the edges, but they've got to be happy with the overall series and how it came out.
Oh yeah, and we shouldn't have doubted that Trundle. They knew exactly what they were doing on something like that. Boise State is very good about that, where we question those decisions, those really heavy carries from previous games. They're like, it's fine. We've got a response to this. And it was even more concerning to see Red Hots doing so poorly at the beginning, multiple times, a 1v1 and then a 2v1, getting taken down both times there. And they managed to turn it around. Boise State knew what their composition was going to accomplish, and they managed to take every single objective, every single amount of pressure that they could, really just overwhelming the whole map. And while Wyoming did a great job of trying to make up for things, trying to minimize the gold differential, try to take what they can, it just didn't end up happening for them today.
Yeah, and I do think Rosero kind of played himself out. I think he could, if he would have stayed on that DPS Trundle, they could have made it work with the Ivern and the Nautilus. Going that tank Trundle kind of just meant there was no damage left for the side of Wyoming. Well, let's find out who our ICCU player of the game is, and of course it is going to be Dean, who had some insane plays on the Ahri and was just basically the key to victory in game number 3 on that Leona. Player of the game brought to you by Idaho Central Credit Union, who believes a great player makes a team more successful, just like Idaho Central is helping members achieve financial success. Dean, the ICCU player of the game, the first one of 2021 for League of Legends, and very well deserved for him.
Very, very well deserved. And we know that Dean has always been a major shot caller as well for the team. Not very vocal here with us, but apparently is much more vocal in the game. And Boise State certainly has the confidence to back those calls. This is the team we've been waiting for. You mentioned it before. These guys haven't changed in the last season. It's the exact same roster and lineup. There's a reason for it. Dean is a massive part of the success of this team due to his early roaming and just his overall confidence in gameplay.
Yeah, you can see just how this team has come together. The ability for Goblin to realize a lot of times he'll be in a 1v2 because Dean's out roaming. And a majority of the time, didn't happen as much in game number 2. A majority of the time, Dean's going to pick up a kill or 2 across the map and be able to give Boise State that global advantage. And Goblin does a really good job of staying alive. But there are times, as we see here, it's Goblin's job to save Dean, not the other way around. A huge play on that Seraphine. The game didn't go their way. That was a huge play by Goblin supporting his support and making sure Dean stays alive.
Hashtag support plays, absolutely. And there was a big variation of champions that Dean played. Generally is kind of forced onto the meta, to be honest. We know that Dean, at least in the past, we have been told that Dean's favorite champion is the Thresh. We rarely get to see it, though, because rarely is Thresh actually in the meta. And that's another reason I suggested Leona, because it's very much Dean's style. And it is very much in the meta at the moment. So the fact that we were able to see, meta, non-meta, really everything here from Boise State, and Dean is the MVP and having it work well in everything. It's always very confident and confiding to know that your team is still feeling good.
Yeah, they hovered that Thresh in game number 1 and then opted against it and actually ended up on the Arya. And so it worked out all the same. So for Boise State, they'll take the victory, probably a little closer than they wanted, but still it's a victory nonetheless. And they've got their eyes set on their next opponent in this CLOL. They want to make sure they defend their Mountain West title from last semester. Well, we're going to close out with our top plays. They're presented by the Idaho Army National Guard, who invites you to take your impressive critical thinking skills into real time. More than 10 jobs offering a $20K bonus and your degree of choice paid for. The Idaho Army National Guard is the best team out there. Just like these are going to be the best plays you've seen all night. So we'll wrap up the Broncos' victory here with our top plays. You don't want to go anywhere. There's still more League of Legends around the corner, but here's our top plays for the Broncos' 2-1 win over Wyoming.
Right, or if that ult came a little too late. That happened in a couple instances as well over Wyoming.
Steal ends up being sort of nullified. As we see Gragas, Devious King on the bottom side of the screen, did take away Ethug's jungle, so we do have a little bit of left and right side jungling here. Here they come, a follow-up, and they're going to land the charm. Can the knockup from Ethug land? No. Guppy incredibly low, so is Goblin forced to flash away. It's 1 kill for Boise State, and it looks like everyone's going to disengage here with the low health.
They shoved Wyoming as far back into their own jungle as possible, and they're turning this into a fight.
That's how you do it. They're going to Rosero incredibly low. He will fall. It's a 4v5. His Ascent still waddling down. Boise State picks up 3. Who needs your mid laner? It's an ace for Boise State in a 5-on-4. And the Broncos in the process. Red Hot's now rotating up. Ascent's got another taunt. Going to land onto 3 members. Etha going to dash in as well. Boise State, though, gets a shutdown, but here they come. Boise State picks up 2. Guppy and Rosero on the wrong side of the wall, incredibly low. It's a triple kill for the Darius. It's an ace for Boise State, and that should be a dragon for the 2.
Hell, we'll see how he decides to initiate.
Perfectly picks off Guppy. No idea he was there. Here's entrance. Not going to be an impact in this fight, but it's going to put Ascent in on the back line. He's going to Proto Belt in. A perfect taunt. He's just going to use it on Dr. Blorbley to make sure he can't get away. The Annie will flash. Still has a ton if the W comes up. It's going to be enough if the volley slows, plus the traffic clone are going to... And Ethug. Red Hot's going to ult in as well. There's the first stun. Following up with the Zenith Blade. There's nowhere he can go. They layer the CC perfectly. Meanwhile, Ascent in the mid lane. He's got to be careful. Does use the barrier. Has Ignite as well. Dr. Borbley going to dash through. One more shield from the Q. Is it going to be enough? It is for now, and he's going to pick up the kill. He will die to the dredge line.